What's going on, fellow A-plusers? It's your host, as always, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news, streaming live for you guys.
I think your mic just cut out.
Yeah, somebody accidentally muted it. It's okay. I'm back, guys, going live over on YouTube for you guys today. Also, check us out over on our Facebook page as well as Twitch. So thank you, everybody, for certainly joining us here. It is a beautiful day in Fort Worth, Texas today, which is kind of crazy. Last week, I think we had a little bit of some ice storm, so it's actually nice to get some beautiful weather for a change. Listen, today is going to be a packed show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really looking forward to this show for three reasons. One, it's Super Bowl Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope everybody's got their picks in for whoever you think's going to win the Super Bowl today. Number two, we got ourselves a full panel, as it's not just myself, Stuart, but we also have ourselves a returning Indy. And last but not least, saving the best for last, we have ourselves a fantastic collaboration today with the podcast Scene and Nerd. You can go ahead and check them out over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. Scene and Nerd is certainly here today, as we're going to be joined by hosts Sarah Belmont and Will Polk. So it is, in fact, a full house today. So let me go ahead and bring everybody into today's episode. Look at this cast, guys. Look at this cast. It's like we put together the Avengers of podcasting here today. Looks great. Good to see everybody. Indy, first and foremost, man, we missed you, bro. We missed you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Missed you guys. You already know what it is. My Sunday isn't right unless I'm here. And this is what matters. Being here with all these A-pluses, brother. I don't know why I slipped into Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan mode. I dig it. I dig it. It's good to see you, man. We definitely missed you around here. But let me go ahead and bring in the two co-hosts, our special guests today. We got Will Polk and Sarah Belmont here. I'm going to go ahead and put you guys together there on the bottom for today's show. Coming from Scene and Nerd. It's so good to have you guys here, man. I've been wanting to collaborate with you guys for quite some time. So I'm really glad that we've been able to connect over the past couple of months through social media and stuff like that, and finally get you guys on board. I've been loving your guys' work, your commentary. We focus on a lot of the same things, so I figured why not bring in some newcomers here to A-Plus Hero Report. So thank you so much, Will and Sarah, for certainly joining us today. How are you guys doing?
Sarah, you're the host. I'll let you go.
I didn't know you were going to start.
Ladies first.
I'm doing good. I'm not going to speak for Will because he was the last one here, so.
Yeah, Will, you said 11:30, Will. 11:30.
Yeah, I said, yeah, all right. See, I know we're gonna get along just fine because you're channeling Sarah's energy right there. But no, thank you for having us. I've enjoyed your show and your commentary and stuff on social media and all. So it's awesome to be here, and thanks for having us.
Most definitely. And yes, Marcelino, hopefully we'll have more collabs like this certainly in the future. I feel like I'm the worst when it comes to collaborating. And what I mean by that is like the idea of like reaching out to people just makes me so nervous sometimes. I feel like the idea of maybe being successful in YouTube, like you have to sort of collaborate with people, but man, the nerves and the shyness and awkwardness kind of get to me from time to time. So I appreciate you guys certainly being on board here today.
Well, it's also just that it's somebody, when you're the guest, like I am right now, I'm used to our format, and we don't do video, and it's just me and him, like a fireside chat once a week. So it's also just going on to somebody else's show and seeing how they're doing things and the conversations that are going and the different personalities. So yeah, I think there's a bit of that too with the collaborations.
Yeah, I totally agree. I do like the fireside chat sort of thing that you mentioned that you and Will certainly have with each other. So yeah, I definitely want to go ahead and bring you guys on board. Guys, for those of you watching at home, we usually will have some honorable mentions today. But if anything, we're probably going to skip the honorable mentions for today, and then we'll talk a little bit with Sarah and Will before we get into the main topics. And then, of course, towards the end of the main topics, we'll get to your guys' live viewer questions. If you want to go ahead and submit a live viewer question in, certainly feel free to go ahead and do so. You can go ahead and actually submit them over to our YouTube page. Go over to our YouTube page, the main channel page, click on that community tab, and there is, in fact, a post for your live viewer questions. So go ahead and submit those down below, and we'll definitely get to them towards the end of this episode. So let me ask you, and Sarah and Will, how long have you guys been working together doing the podcast?
We just celebrated our 6th anniversary.
Oh,
yeah.
very.
So
I know.
Yeah. So actually, so it's funny. I used to listen to their podcast, Seen a Nerd, when they had a different crew. Sarah was part of the crew, but also the original founder, Pete Benavides, who had to give a shout out to him. But so Sarah would do commentary, and actually one of the topics that we'll probably get to today at the Flash was a show that we both had in common. And so read our written reports and listened to the podcast some, and reached out to her. We just started DMing each other, and we had a mutual follower friend on Twitter, and Carrie, and that led to us me joining them in January of 2017, and we did a show together, and one show became another and another, and here we are 6 years later. It's been an awesome ride.
How many people were a part of the crew when you guys first started?
I'll defer to Sarah. Yeah.
When Will first started?
Or when you started, Sarah, and then when Will started?
There were 3.
Okay.
And then it got really complicated. It's a very, because there was, I think like my 3rd show, we had a guest from Geeks Worldwide. And then that umbrella ended up kind of taking on Seen a Nerd for a brief period of time. So there's a staggered history. But right now it's just been Will and I. So yeah, the
dynamic duo, as I see you guys posting from time to time. So let me ask you, Will, like, what are some of your favorite fandoms that you're certainly into? Like, I'm sure everybody's got their top 5, top 3. Like, what gets you going, man, fandom wise?
Fandom wise, first and foremost, Star Trek. That is my go-to, and then close second by Star Wars. Yes, both things can happen together, and
absolutely, we don't have to be at war with one another. You know what I'm saying? We can all get along.
It's not like Marvel and DC with fandoms sometimes. Those two are definitely my go-tos, and then then DC and Marvel as far as fandoms, where comics were really my thing that got me into the DC side, and years ago, and also interesting enough, the OG Flash show with John Wesley Shipp was so that was definitely where I really picked up the Flash and got my Star Labs shirt. That Sarah had to shout out to that, because that was where the OG Star Labs and stuff with Barry and Tina back in the day. But those were my primary fandoms.
What about you, Sarah? What are some of your fans?
I was just curious with Star Trek, which series would you say is your favorite?
Deep Space Nine.
Nice.
Ooh. My stepdad was always a big Deep Space Nine guy. I was more of the Next Generation, and I love me some Voyager, man. I was a big fan of Voyager back in the day. What about you, Sarah? What are some of your fandoms, Sarah?
Oh man, Will, why don't you do your response while I think about this? They don't roll off the tongue for me like they do with Will, because my fandoms always change. But originally, what brought me to the show, Seen a Nerd, was my love for Mr. Robot and Arrow.
Oh, nice.
And then the Flash. Even though, like, I have a bunch of issues with the final season of Arrow, as with most CW shows that just fall off the deep end the longer they go on. And then the MCU, DC. I mean, talking genre shows are just fun. They're more fun than, even though I love shows like Succession, and Billions, they're not as entertaining to talk about and geek out about as genre shows or science fiction shows or comic book shows. So
I feel you there. Did you ever did you ever collect comics as a kid at all, or no?
No, that was always, I have 3 brothers. And my little brother would, from time to time, I would see random comic books, but none of us were big into comic book reading. And I actually did try to read comics when I got into The Walking Dead.
Gotcha.
But I think I was way too late, and it didn't hit me the way it should have. So, and I'm not a gamer. But I have seen all of the cutscenes already for The Last of Us. I watched that like 2 years ago.
Nice.
So I'm very much a type of person who, I love when people talk about things that they love, and then I'll kind of latch on.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Nice. I appreciate that, Sarah. What about you, Will? You mentioned comic books. What were some of the comic books you collected as a kid or growing up?
Yeah, so the first ones was the G.I. Joe, where it was my entry into the comic book realm. Wasn't the traditional, Trinity or anything like that. But so that was it. And then, but over the time, as I noted, the Flash TV show really got me into that run. That was the early 90s. So that was when Wally West was the Flash, because Barry had disappeared from Crisis. So I was really, so my Flash really is Wally West.
It's Wally West.
Is not Barry Allen. But so, and I see your themes of that in some of the CW show, especially early on, to kind of morph the two things from Wally's run and Barry. Those were my ones. And then over time, like everyone, went through the X-Men phase. I think, every comic book fan has probably done that, and then picked up some indies along the way as well. So, nice. Those were some of the comic books that I used to read. I haven't, it ebb and flows. I mean, I was really deep in my pull box for years recently, but really, I don't know if it's a pandemic or what, but I just sort of fell off.
Comics are getting expensive too these days. I used to have a pull box at my comic book store, and I would go in there, and just for like a week's worth of comics, they'd be like, oh, that's $40-$50. I'm like, what? Like, I'm literally getting like 10 comics. Why am I paying like, $50 for this type of stuff? But sometimes I just feel like it's just gotten way too expensive. But like you, Will, like Wally West was my Flash for quite some time. I kind of feel some type of way that he's kind of just gotten shunned lately, ever since Barry Allen's kind of returned to comic books. And I mean, I know he's the original for most people, but they definitely have allowed Barry Allen to certainly get into that spotlight again. And poor Wally West has just been like a supporting character these days, which is kind of sad to see.
And I think that also how they treated him and with some of the I'm blanking on the rebirth during the rebirth line. And how the whole thing with Wally and Booster Gold and everything with the asylum and the stories. Whenever Joshua Williamson stopped writing the series, I started to fall off, and I just haven't gone back to it. But I know there's, like, speaking of fandoms, I know there's like Star Trek and Star Wars. Again, they're starting to pull in some of the live action things into the comics. So there's some new line for fans who haven't watched Deep Space Nine. I won't spoil too much, but a very critical character that was a part of that series is coming back in the DS9 comics. So I'm thinking about picking that up.
Nice, man. Yeah, I see the MCU kind of doing that too. I feel like they've got a couple of characters that are making their way now into comic books also for sort of the first time. So it should be pretty interesting to see how that turns out. Last but not least, before we get into our topics, I want to know both of your guys. I know you guys are two big movie guys. So let me ask you, most anticipated films for this year? Any films that you're looking forward to particularly?
Will, you have to remind me what's coming out.
Yeah. Let's see. I know this year, so I would have to give. Well, since it's Super Bowl Sunday and we haven't, we haven't had anything yet. I have to say The Flash, despite Ezra Miller's shenanigans. That is probably the one I'm looking forward to this year. I know we got a big one coming up this week with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But that was, as far as one that sort of pops out, that's definitely one of the genre related films.
Isn't Across the Spider-Verse coming out this year?
Yes, that comes out later this year. I think closer to Christmas,
and
I believe. Was that right, Stuart?
No, it's actually June. It's June. You're right, Sarah.
Ooh, even closer. Okay.
And it's across, right? Not in. That's what they're doing. And then the third one's Beyond.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. I remember things.
I gotta tell you, man.
I think that sequel is long overdue. So I think that one, as we approach June, is what I'll be very interested to see if they can not only capture the magic of the first one, but also just add and expand to what they've already set up.
Yeah, the scope of that movie looks pretty ridiculous. So I am really fascinated in that one. I think that, Stuart, that was our number one most anticipated movie, right? When we did our top 5.
Yeah, it's funny because like our list was mostly different until we got to number one, because I think that was what we both had as our like number one anticipated movie for the year.
You know what movie keeps making its way up my list? I can't remember where I put it at on my list, but Creed 3. I keep seeing featurettes, trailers for it, posters for it. It looks so damn good. I can't remember where I put it on my list, but it's creeping up there for sure. I absolutely am really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, my guilty pleasure one's Cocaine Bear, but anyway.
Yo, that Stuart, that was yours too, right? Like number 1 or number 2 or something like
that? I think I put that on like number 2 or number 3 on my list.
I was like, how do you got Cocaine Bear as your number 2 on your list, Stuart? But honestly, the more I see of it, I'm like, I see what you're talking about, Stuart. I'm really looking forward to that.
What's so weird? Okay, sorry. Off tangent just a little bit. But what's so weird is that the theater I work at, we're kind of like a restaurant and a movie theater. We serve beer as well. And so I feel like a movie like Cocaine Bear would do so good at our theater, but I just found out that we're not getting it, which is just so bizarre to me.
Oh, your theater's not playing it?
Yeah, apparently not, or at least currently there's no plans for it. Like every now and then we have like last minute schedule changes, so that could still happen, but currently there's no plans for it to be at our theater.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what the rollout for that film was going to be. I expected it to be nationwide, but hopefully you guys get it eventually.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. All right, guys. Well, listen, that's Will and Sarah for you guys. Check out Scene and Nerd. You can find them, their podcasts, again, over on Spotify, as well as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and certainly more. If anything, I'll go ahead and put a link in the description box below for you guys after the show, so you can go ahead and certainly follow them if you'd like to. But they mainly do a podcast, but they also do have a YouTube channel where they certainly post their content as well. So definitely go ahead and check them out. Before we get into our main topics, let's go ahead and do some quick shout outs, because we got a lot of people in here today. Good old Jack Daniels is certainly with us today because it's 5 o'clock somewhere. We got Adam Perea certainly in the house with us today. Good old Dino Knight certainly joining us also. Blossoms in the house along with Adrian Perez. Roberto Bueno is certainly here today. The most talented man in the world has joined us. Nicole Robertson is here with us as well. Good old Francois, the international superstar of ours. We got John Schuyler in the house also, followed by Carlo Bernardo. Jackson Peterson is here, not to be mistaken by Peter Jackson. Power Rangers Legacy is here also. We got Gabriel in the house with us today. Carter Matthews is with us. Enrique Perez, what's going on? He says, hey, Adam, it's Super Bowl Sunday, which means tonight there will be new movie trailers. Yeah, I'm expecting a ton of them. Some of them we might actually get a little bit earlier. Michael is certainly in the house today. We got Morgan Hutchinson joining us. Of course, Marcelino is here with us today. Alexander Rosario. Rerum is certainly joining us. What's up, Datilla? It's certainly good to see you in the house. Oh, look at that. Graced by my girlfriend's presence. What's up, Cindy? Good to see you in here. We got Riley. What's up, Renee? Good to certainly see you in here, too. Hey, my mom is even joining us. What's up, Mom? Good to see you also. Will I be doing shout outs? Absolutely, Adam. So thank you very much, guys, for joining us today. Listen, if you're in the live chat, if you're watching us live, do us a big favor, hit that like button and certainly subscribe. It definitely does go a long way. All right, guys, you guys ready to get into some main topics today?
Always.
Let's do it. All right. So first main topic we're going to get into actually wind up dropping yesterday or just the day before, if I'm not mistaken. We got ourselves a brand new Fast X trailer. That's right. An official trailer for the next installment for Fast and the Furious is certainly here. The 10th installment and not the last. The end of the road begins apparently here. We clearly probably have at least one more film to go after that, but we wind up having ourselves a trailer clocking in at over 3 minutes. They had a lot to certainly express to us, and so we're going to go ahead and give our thoughts on this trailer. So let's go ahead and do some roundtable. Was that Renee says this movie looks ridiculous? Yeah, it absolutely does look ridiculous. They definitely continue to push the boundaries more and more each time. Let's start off with some opinions here from Scene and Nerd. So we're going to go ahead and actually bring Sarah in. Ladies first. I'm sure you had the opportunity to glimpse Fast X, the official trailer. What did you think?
I think it looked like a Fast and Furious movie. It's just, I mean, I wouldn't say it looked ridiculous because all of their movie trailers look ridiculous. It's Fast and the Furious. And yeah, I think the last Fast and Furious movie I watched was Fast 6. But I've seen the trailers, and at 3 minutes, you've basically seen the movie, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that it was coming in so long. I think this is the first trailer that we've gotten. So, you know, it's a rarity when you see a trailer past 3 minutes. I'm used to like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, but they apparently felt like they had a lot to say and to certainly show in here. So, Will, do you think she's right? Do you think they showed the whole movie in this particular trailer? What were your thoughts?
So, confession time here, y'all. I have never seen 1 minute of any of that franchise.
No way, Will. You're lying.
Really? I kid not. It's just, yes, it's a huge blank spot for me, but I've never, like, it's one of those ones that, you know, certain things are for some people and some things aren't. This is one franchise that it's not. I did watch the trailer, and I've seen all the trailers, and I'm familiar with the, you know, you can't be like in pop culture and not be familiar with this, with the Fast franchise. I mean, it's just you know, one of those things. But yeah, I mean, the trailer was as dynamic and crazy and bonkers as I imagine these films are, as far as with the stunts and stuff. And, you know, from a technical standpoint, yeah, it's it showed a lot, and I'm sure they held back quite a bit as well. But yeah, it looks like a fun film, but just not my kind of popcorn movie.
Yeah, certainly not for everybody, that's for sure. I'm kind of like Sarah. I eventually fell off of the franchise myself. I can't remember what movie it was. I believe it might have been Paul Walker's last film. I don't even know if I've finished that film either, to be honest with you guys. But after that, I personally fell off also. So I have no idea what's going on in these movies, but I'm a big fan of just the bombastic action. Like, I appreciate the fact that they know what they are and that they embrace it, you know, and they have definitely embraced it more and more, it feels like. What about you, Indy? I know you're a fan of the franchise in some capacity. I'm sure you probably have watched them all, have you? And if not, what are your thoughts on the trailer?
This is the greatest movie known to man, the movie franchise. There is no movie franchise greater than Fast and the Furious. I thought the trailer was unique in the way that it stayed with the same old tropes, introduced new characters, but kept their motives, you know what I'm saying, basically behind the wall. I love the way that this franchise to me was the first multiverse, to be honest, because the way that all the movies and characters interact with each other, by giving us to keep this with the fans so they know what's going on, by giving us Aquaman's backstory, but before he developed powers and started running through the ocean. In the trailer kind of got us past the what villain is he working for, you know what I'm saying, type thing. Is he the big bad? I think Momoa deserves to be championed as a villain, you know what I'm saying, in this franchise. So seeing somebody actually not make him be like the dopey hero good guy and let him be the tattooed villain that he needs to be. And then we got that little sprinkle of Brie Larson, like, you know what I'm saying, like, oh yeah, she's in here too, you know what I'm saying, type thing. It looks good. Dom's family is entirely too big, so
it gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna have people die and not come back to life, you know what I'm saying. So it's gonna be an interesting thing to go, and you can almost gauge how many years have passed with how fast Dom's son aged. So I'm guessing he's about 6 or 7. So that'll let you get past the Vin Diesel wrinkles. You know, like, this dude should not be punching through walls. And I'm going to get with the fans on this. There is no way in the world that car takes down 2 helicopters. I don't care how much horsepower is in a car. I'm a fan of the franchise, but you've gone too far. I let you jump through buildings. I've let you drive a safe down a highway and beat other people up with it. But taking down 2 military helicopters with a car is just too much for me. That I can't fantasize in my head as well as imagination that I'm having of that happening when I watch Captain America struggle, you know what I'm saying, to hold a helicopter in place. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's okay.
What are the odds that Momoa at the end of the movie becomes a part of the family?
Oh, 100% probably, right?
It's going to be 100%. He's going to be a part of the family. He's going to be Vin Diesel's right-hand man. And when Vin Diesel steps out of the franchise, this is when Momoa steps up to replace The Rock as the person who's taking over the franchise. That's honestly what I feel is going to happen.
But that would mean that Vin Diesel's ego suddenly like shrunk. And I don't see that happening. So I'm not sure.
Well, I think the good thing about Momoa is that he's not egotistical. So like he's The Rock without the star power and without the ego.
I thought you were gonna say without Kevin Hart. Oh yeah, you're right.
You know, so it might work. And women tend to like Momoa more than they like The Rock. So that probably is going to play in their favor a little bit more, because if you have Jason Momoa walking around shirtless, this movie's going to do $1 billion in the first week.
Yeah.
I mean, don't tell that to my mom. She loves them both.
Right now, its competition will be Jonathan Majors shirtless in Creed 3 and hopefully an Ant-Man. I mean,
I was going to say, Sarah, if you didn't mention Majors, I was going to be disappointed.
That's another big thing. I mean, hey, for all you're going to know, you'll see Deadpool rip through a portal, and then you'll see Kang fighting Ant-Man during the Fast and the Furious movie, and then you'll understand that it's all connected.
It's all connected. And I'm sure in the next Fast and the Furious movie, Dom will be taking down a rocket ship with his car instead of 2 helicopters. I'm sure that's next. What about you, Stuart?
Hold on. Han's a mutant. That's how he survived the car crash. He's a mutant. It all makes sense.
What about you, Stuart? What'd you think about the trailer, man?
So basically kind of like what you guys were all saying, looks very much like a Fast and Furious movie. I feel like after you get to a certain point in the franchise, like the 7th movie, when you get Dwayne Johnson taking down a helicopter with an ambulance, then ripping off the gun from that helicopter to take down another helicopter, I feel like it almost becomes like impossible for me to not believe anything can happen in this universe at this point. And I do like in this one, it seems like they're using which I know it's weird because this is a whole franchise about cars, but it seems like there's more cars in this trailer than we've gotten in the past several Fast and Furious movies. So to me, this kind of gives me like a high budget Wacky Races vibe. So it's like Fast and Furious meets Wacky Races. So you know, I'm looking forward to it. It looks like it's going to be as fun as the other Fast and Furious movies, if not like, you know, and I'm if anything, I'm just really curious to see how they try to top themselves this time, because it almost feels like it's a tradition now. Every movie you have to introduce one more like unrealistic, could never happen in the real world thing that just tops the thing that happened in the previous movie. So for the the last one, it was they drove a car in outer space. So I'm curious where they can possibly top that in this one.
I love that Sarah just rolled her eyes over there like, oh my God. And
the things that I don't see in the trailer, it blows my mind. But did you guys hear that Vin Diesel had a interview and mentioned how he wants RDJ to come on board as the overall big bad, who wants, because the character will want to have AIs control cars, which goes against the family.
Oh God.
So to Indy's point, it is all connected if that ever happens.
Ultron takes over the cars.
Exactly.
Damn you, Tony Stark.
Oh my God, a Skynet story, but with cars going broke.
Oh gosh, just like meta, like She-Hulk, with punching out of, Kevin's going to show up and it's going to be the big AI Kevin.
So basically Vin Diesel steals from another movie, because I think that's already happened with AI controlling cars. We've had that in the past.
Everyone steals from other movies. There's very little original content these days in Hollywood. So
yeah.
We'll see what happens when Riddick 4 flops. Vin Diesel will come back and do 3 more Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah.
I did hear an announcement that he is coming back for another Riddick movie.
Yeah.
I think they just announced that this week. So
yeah, I saw that late this week. Yeah.
Will there be CGI involved? He can only hide those wrinkles for so long. Somebody needs to introduce that man to Botox.
Some de-aging for sure. They're going to be working on that for some de-aging. I will say just the last little bit about this Fast X stuff. The one thing that I kind of appreciate looking back on it, one, I'm always just impressed as to how this franchise has even gotten to 10 films, let alone about to hit their 11th one. Like I talk all the time about the success of the MCU and like how just cinematic history in regards to what they were able to do for the Infinity Saga of having so many films connected to each other and making so much money at the same time, but when I look at the Fast and the Furious franchise, I mean, you want to talk about competition for such a huge cinematic universe. Fast and the Furious has actually done themselves a pretty good job in regards to building this franchise, regardless of how ridiculous it's gotten over the years. I think something definitely needs to be said about the fact that we're 10 movies deep, and I can almost guarantee you this movie will probably come in at $1 billion at some particular point in time. So the fact that they managed to do all that alongside with the MCU, what they've been able to do also, just pretty impressive stuff. Like even checking out this trailer and seeing that Jason Momoa's origin story to a certain extent, might have even connected to a past Fast and the Furious movie. I mean, they've got their own aspects of interconnectedness, and so I'm always impressed at the fact that they can kind of come full circle in regards to some of these stories that they've established for themselves over such a long period of time. So I think they're doing some good things, regardless of how ridiculous that the movie might be.
They need to show more love to Tokyo Drift. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, yeah, we'll see. I
mean, they brought back On from the Dead. How much more love can you give that franchise or give that movie?
I mean, Lucas. I mean, there was other characters that were really important. You know what I'm saying? In that like, I don't know. Tokyo Drift is still the best Fast movie to me.
It definitely had some of my favorite like stunts, like with what they do with the cars and that.
We did also get ourselves 2 new images also this week. We got a new image of Jason Momoa. This is from Empire Magazine. It looks like this is Jason Momoa's character Dante. They say he's an incredible new character, is what the director promises. It's 1000% Momoa, and he's not the only problem for the Fast family this time. They are bad news, but one is more afraid than the other. One is worse news than the other, is what the director says. And I'm assuming maybe he's might be talking about some Brie Larson. We got Brie Larson's character in here also. It looks like she's going to be playing a character, Mysterious Tess is her name, Tess. It says, and where exactly she lands on Fast's sliding scale of heroes and villains remains to be seen, but she enters a maelstrom of high-octane action and familiar factions as well. It says, when you have fought so hard to keep your faith and protect your family and literally change the world, which is the case of Dom Toretto, there is a price to pay, and his enemies are coming for him. So, yeah, they got some great new additions in here, man. I mean, the cast just continues to blow my mind. Like, the ensemble cast is ridiculous in here. How many familiar faces we got?
I love the comment where someone said that it looks like Legends of Tomorrow with cars.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
I have to say, it's two things that I'm really worried about this. If Brie Larson's character ends up being Dom's sister, I'm gonna be very annoyed. and two, can you take her serious as Captain Marvel if a normal person beats her up in this movie?
Yeah, I could separate the two.
I can't. Like, I don't, for some reason, like, if she gets
Captain
beat
Marvel
up,
getting downgraded for you?
Yeah, it just downgrades the character for me, because all the time, like, in arguments, oh, Captain Marvel is the most powerful, you know what I'm saying, Avenger, and then but she got beat up in Fast and the Furious, and it's like it just messes with me a little bit. I don't know, but I'm curious to see what she's gonna do, considering that this is another huge franchise. And give it to Momoa, because if he goes and does some type of Marvel movie after this as a character, anything like that, does he get like some type of award for being DC? You know what I'm saying? Fast and the Furious and Marvel. You know what I'm saying? Like is that's something like an EGOT for him?
Well, if he if he gets an award, Zoe Saldana should get an award also for being in like the 3 biggest like blockbuster films of all time. She definitely deserves something also. All right, guys. But that will do it for our Fast and the Furious Fast X trailer. What did you guys think of the trailer? Certainly let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. Eddie's extremely petty as always. It's all right, man. We still love you, Andy. All right, guys. But yeah, let us know your thoughts about the trailer in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, we're going to move on to our next topic. And our next topic is in regards to AMC theaters. Not sure if you guys have had the opportunity to hear the news, but AMC theaters wants more of your money. They plan on apparently making it a little bit more difficult, a little bit more expensive to certainly go to the movie theaters. As this past week, we wind up getting a report that they're going to be changing the prices for certain seats in the theater that you are going to be going to. Let's go ahead and dive into this article, though, real quick. I believe this is actually from Variety.com. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up here for you guys to dive into this news today. But AMC Theaters is set to change movie ticket prices based on your seat location. I'm not sure if you guys have the opportunity to check out this story earlier this week, but a lot of people were certainly talking about it. It says the country's largest exhibition chain is rolling out Sightline at AMC. It's a ticketing pricing initiative based on seat location within the auditorium. Similar to music concerts, sporting events, or Broadway, moviegoers will have the option to pay more or less for admission depending on where they choose to sit in the venue. In effect, front row seats will be available at lower prices, while seats in the middle of the theater will be available at higher pricing. The initiative actually kicks off on Friday to select AMC locations in New York, Chicago, and Kansas City, and will be expanded to all domestic AMC locations by the end of the year. So they do have 3 different seating pricing options. The first is standard Sightline, described as the seats that are the most common in auditoriums and are available for the traditional cost of tickets. Then you'll get your value Sightline, referred to as the seats in the front row of the auditorium. And then you're also going to have value Sightline pricing. Only available to AMC Stubs members. But the third option is preferred Sightline, which are the seats in the middle of the auditorium and are priced at a premium to standard Sightline seats. For those of you who are AMC Stubs A-list members, though, you got nothing to worry about. You guys are certainly in the clear. So maybe that's exciting for some members. But yeah, so we're going to be having some ticket pricing changes. They've already rolled it out as of Friday in New York, Chicago, and Kansas City. So a lot of big changes coming to your location. Do we get to vote on this? I mean, like, do us as viewers, people, audience members, do we get to vote? Like, hey, this is a good thing, or it's seemingly they're just rolling it out already. So let me go ahead and go over to Will first. I know when we talked on social media about some of the topics we're going to bring up, I know you mentioned this as something we could certainly discuss. So I want to pick your brain on this. First off, are you an AMC Stubs member? Will this affect you or not? And even if it doesn't, what are some of your thoughts in regards to this?
First, yes, I am a AMC Stubs member, so I won't be impacted by it. But we actually talked about this on our podcast this week because I think this went into effect this past Friday, as a story noted, in certain select markets and rolling out to the rest of the country. I believe 80 for Brady, I think, was the first film to that it was going to be implemented then. And I think, was it Elijah Wood or?
I think it was, I think it's Elijah Wood.
Yeah, it was someone pretty prominent had some concerns about this. And I shared some of the similar concerns. Movie prices are, in some markets, are just so daggone expensive now. If you want to go, to a prime time, not a matinee, but to a regular, 7 o'clock showtime. If you have a family of 4 and you're in a place, I mean, depending on the type of screen you go to, they're already do this now with IMAX, for example. I mean, you play a premium point for IMAX. So if you're going to do that, and then if you're paying a premium point for IMAX, and then you're paying a premium point for, improved sightline in the theater, and then let's say you want to get snacks and those kind of things. I mean, it's like you're paying more for seeing a traveling Broadway show than going to the movie theater. So it reaches a point where it's just like you may price some people out of going to the movies. And given that, I mean, theaters are just now really starting to recover from the pandemic. We had talked about last year that people came back, Elvis and other things, Black Panther 2 and others, where we're starting Avatar. We're starting to see where people are returning to the theater. But if you put this type of thing into place, I think it's going to price some people out of the market, and folks who were reticent about returning to the theater, like, screw it now. I'm just not going to come back, or I'll just wait till it comes on streaming. And so I get where they're coming from. And even during our discussion on the podcast, we talked about this. It's not unprecedented. I mean, you have this in sporting events and concerts and other things. So yes, we are familiar with the tiered level seating depending on where you are in the auditorium. But I always felt that movies was like the great equalizer. It was a very democratic thing where anyone has access to it. So now you're adding, a additional price point that will then make it more difficult for that democratization of viewing experience be more for some people than others. So I do have some concerns about it. I mean, I know it's a business, they got to make their money, but maybe dial back on some of the spooky Nicole Kidman spots at the beginning and just save some money there or something like that. But I do have concerns about this, but it's rolling out, and it's just something that we'll have to deal with.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I definitely agree that it's the great equalizer. I've always looked at movie theaters as like the every man, every woman sort of event, that anybody can certainly go to, because I don't see it the same as going to a concert or a big event sort of thing. And so to have this kind of separate everybody a little bit more does kind of rub me the wrong way, because I think even the seats that they like, for me, it might be different if you had the middle seats where everybody loves, if those prices certainly stayed the same, and then maybe you lower the prices for some of the other seats that are kind of in that area. But it seems like they're even going to be raising those prices for the middle seats also, right? So now we're not just asking you to pay the regular price of a ticket, but now you got to pay more just to kind of sit here. So I definitely agree with you. Like, I'm the type of person, I don't even want to sit in the front row. So even if you give me a discounted price, it's like, nah, I'm probably still not going to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're looking at the front row seat. Usually the front, it's sort of like, okay, you didn't get your stuff together, and you're just running into the theater at the last minute, but those front row seats. But I'm one of those middle of the thing tiers, and my wife gives me a grief about it all the time about why are you trying to get to the theater so early? But I'm like, because I want to get a good seat, especially when it's a general, especially where it's a general admission type of theater. So again, I do have concerns with it, but it's just the next. They got to make their money. I get that, but just don't Elon Musk the movie theaters so that this becomes harder for people to utilize that service.
No, I totally agree. What about you, Sarah? How do you feel about the changes AMC theaters are making right now?
We don't have an AMC where I live, so it's not going to affect me, but I won't be surprised if other chains follow. But I will be curious to see if people who live in these fancy cities with multiple movie theaters and multiple options, if instead of going to the AMC, they go to a different one because of it. And then AMC looks at their profit and sees a decline rather than an increase. But yeah.
What's that? I will say I am thankful that I do have myself an AMC Stubs membership. Something I would definitely recommend everybody get if you, especially if you like to go to AMC theaters, might save you a pretty penny actually at the end of the day based off of some of the changes that are happening there. What about you, Stuart? For somebody that does work at a movie theater, I know you don't work at the AMC chain. How much are tickets running for you guys right now, just for a regular seat at the theater chain that you work at, and how do you think this is going to affect the movie going industry?
It's actually kind of funny. I'm not sure how much we charge because I'm always just watching movies for free at our theater. And it's like we have so many different prices for so many different things. We have a Tuesday price that's cheaper than any other day, especially if you go to the first round, because then we have what we call the Alamo for All Tuesday, which is where the lights are kind of dimmed and it's supposed to instead of being turned all the way off, and it's supposed to be there for people that want to maybe go with their little kids, when we usually are very much not that we don't allow kids at our theater, but we're very much not necessarily a family friendly theater because we're kind of we consider ourselves like a bar, that kind of a thing. So but anyways, all that to say, our prices are constantly changing just depending on so many different things. But I think, the idea of having it based on what seat you're choosing is a really, really terrible idea. And I feel really bad for any employees that are going to be working at these AMC theaters because, very likely one of two things are going to happen. They're going to essentially, if they're going to actually enforce this type of rule going on, they're going to have to deal with customers who are not going to like this, that are going to assume that, essentially they're just being a pain in the ass for the sake of being a pain in the ass. And I kind of know from experience how this could, go badly because, when I was working at the Cinemark theater, they had just started back in 2015, I want to say, started for the first time implementing assigned seating, and that alone was enough to drive people like crazy. People were not happy that they had to pick their seats on the screen instead of getting to pick their seats in the theater. So you get people that were not happy about that when it happened, and now you're saying not only do you have to choose your seat before going into the theater, but now you also have to pay a different price depending on what seat you choose. And then there's also just kind of that whole a lot of it. I don't know if this is going to be enforced during slow movies, but if it is, I can only imagine again how much of a pain it's going to be for both the customer and the employee for having to, if you're working at an AMC theater, you see there's maybe 3 people in the theater and one of them sitting in the middle instead of on the edge, for the seat that they bought. It's are you really going to enforce that? And if your higher ups are really that strict about it, it's just I don't know. I think that's one of the things that annoys me whenever higher ups make decisions like this is they don't tend to really think about how much it's going to piss off not only the customers but the employees as well, and how it's just going to make it an overall bad experience for everyone. You know.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you there. Yeah, not really taking into account what the the people that work there actually have to deal with, or some of the BS they'll certainly have to put up with. But I will say, you mentioned the idea of them rolling out the assigned seats. How there was certainly pushback for that, and then eventually we kind of all came around to it. I wonder if AMC is kind of betting on the same thing, knowing that this is going to upset some people, but if they stick to it, right, and hold their ground and they just push it out, that eventually people will just jump on board with it, and then next thing you know, Cinemark and all these other companies will start kind of rolling it out. So maybe they're just gonna bite the bullet and hope that people just eventually accept it. What are you thinking, though?
I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
What's going to happen?
And yeah, and so that's why I'm kind of hoping, like, so if you guys are like in an area where there's an AMC theater that's charging by the seats, I would recommend just going to another theater if you can. Just kind of let AMC know that we don't like this, and make sure other theater chains, or just other theaters in general, know that this is not a good way to charge tickets.
Yeah, I agree. If I'm going to be paying extra for that middle seat, I better get like an opening act or a band come out to perform for me specifically. If I'm going to go spend that kind of money. What about you, Indy? How are you feeling about the price change here, man?
Me being a Stubbs Reward member too, it doesn't affect me that much about it. And I think that's one of the things that they need to put out there more when it comes to it. Because Stubbs is what, like $20? Get to watch, is it 2 or 3? I don't remember. I think
3.
You get to watch 3 movies a week, you know what I'm saying, for that $20 is a better value than going to the movies for one time, you know what I'm saying, and spending $20. So if it's something where the pricing of their membership doesn't change but a couple of dollars, and it allows you to see 3 and we're talking about premieres, because you and I both have gotten premiere nights, you know what I'm saying, Thursday night when they saw the movie, you know what I'm saying, with the Stubbs Reward. That's the thing that I think people are forgetting about when they go to push, you know what I'm saying, what's going on. For $25 a month, you can see 3, 6, 9, 12 movies, you know what I'm saying, a month for that $20. It totally erases the price, you know what I'm saying, the price jump of them seats. With that, I can see the membership, you know what I'm saying, increasing. As long as it doesn't go over $30 or something like that, I think I'm cool with it. But as far as like other theaters implementing this type of price hike on their ticket prices, unless they have some type of membership like AMC does in order to counteract, you know what I'm saying, that price is going up, I don't see it being beneficial to them, you know what I'm saying, to raise their seat prices. But AMC does do a horrible job at promoting their Stubbs premiere package. You only see it during the movies, and you see that one standee sitting in front of the door that you see. It's something that I feel like if they make their consumers more aware of, stuff like this wouldn't bother people so much. I mean, GameStop got away with it for years with their Power Up Rewards card. Didn't really have any benefits, but if you pay $20 a month, you get an extra $2 off this $59 game that somebody scratched all up. So it's something that they can use in order to make it. If more people use the Stubbs Reward program, I don't think they would care. The only issue that I feel they need to do is there needs to be some type of family plan for the Stubbs Reward thing, because I don't see somebody coming in paying $100 a month for everybody in their family in order to be able to go see a movie.
I will say I do wish that they would make some changes to their Stubbs membership to include, family members or other people that you can just kind of throw on, instead of like they're, selecting for an entourage member or somebody else that that has an AMC Stubbs. The idea of being able to provide for your family with the Stubbs membership would be a good idea. So let me ask everybody. I mean, do you think, hearing what Indy's talking about in regards to the AMC Stubbs membership, do you think that this is a way also for AMC to acquire more AMC Stubbs membership? Like, because I almost feel like this is a way to really push people, instead of getting their tickets individually, to kind of invest more in their monthly service to kind of get more out of it.
Yeah, I think that was, I don't know if it was the Variety article, maybe Deadline or somewhere else, one of the trades, where I think that was one of the things they were trying to do, which is get more people to get the memberships. But and for people who like us, who enjoy film and enjoy going to the movies and that kind of thing, I think Stubs membership makes great sense. I mean, and you'll get return on your investment very quickly when you sign up for that. But for a lot of just casual movie fans who will only go once in a blue moon because there's the new Star Wars movie or the new Marvel movie or something like that. Well, because the people who go to the Marvel movies, we still walk out at the end of
all the
at
time.
the end. Yeah. I don't think they're not gonna purchase a Stubs membership. I don't think. I think they're just casual, going to catch a movie. They're not listening to us talk about these things on podcasts or whatever. They just go in, go out, they're done. But for people like us, yeah, I mean, obviously I think several of us mentioned on here that we already are Stubs members. So for us, yeah, we would do that.
Yeah, maybe we should start marketing AMC Stubs membership for them. Maybe get me a sponsorship on this channel or something. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. What do you think about the AMC theaters price change? Again, they are taking an effect in certain states and hopefully plan to roll out to domestic theaters everywhere by the end of the year. So let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. All right, guys, and with that topic out of the way, we will move on to our next topic as we got some big changes that are happening when it comes to Disney. For those of you who don't recall, Bob Chapek, the former CEO of Disney, has in fact been booted out, and back in comes Papa Bob Iger to take over the helm for Disney once again. He did a fantastic job with Disney originally in regards to really bringing them into sort of this streaming world, really allowing Disney to continue to grow and be as lucrative as it probably has ever been. Unfortunately, with the era of Bob Chapek, things maybe took a little bit of a downturn there. Maybe not everybody super thrilled in regards to how he handled business for Disney. And it seems as though they wanted Bob Iger back. And so now we've got Bob Iger. I think a lot of people are certainly thrilled to certainly hear that. But unfortunately, Bob Iger now has a different vision and a different direction in which he wants to certainly go ahead and take the company. And this week, we learned that unfortunately, due to the new vision here, that unfortunately about 7,000 employees were in fact going to be laid off. So let's go ahead and dive into that a little bit, not only to talk about those that have in fact lost their job due to this direction change, but also what Bob Iger plans on doing to implement it. So let's go ahead and dive into this a little bit here, guys. This is going to come to us, I believe, from Variety.com also. We'll just highlight some of the things that Bob Iger certainly had to say in here. It says, Bob Iger gets blunt. Hollywood can't give up on the old until the new starts making real money. So it does say that Bob Iger returned to the throne. He had previously vacated in a dramatic fashion on Wednesday, proceeding over his first quarterly earnings report since coming back as Disney's CEO. It says, but the once and present chief made it clear to analysts during a conference call on Monday that he's confronting a markedly different Magic Kingdom. He says, times have changed, Iger admitted during a 1 hour long earnings presentation. It's gotten more competitive. The forces of distribution have only gotten greater, and there are certain things as a residual of COVID that has gotten tougher from a macroeconomic perspective. But Iger cautioned Disney's North Star remains the storytellers who have helped make its entertainment empire the envy of Hollywood, one that extends from Star Wars to Marvel to Mickey Mouse. He says, we're still in the company that is focused on creativity in its highest form. He says his goal, he made clear, is to get Disney's fiscal house in order. And that means cuts. Disney will shed 7,000 jobs or 3% of its workforce, along with the new emphasis on making money as opposed to just adding Disney Plus customers. This new frugality will extend to the movies and shows that Disney creates. He says, we are going to take a really hard look at the costs for everything that we make, both across television and film, because things in a very competitive world have just simply gotten more expensive. We want the quality on the screen, but we have to look at what costs, at what that costs us. Iger also suggested that Disney had spent too much money on advertising as it's looking to grow its base of streaming viewers, and it might need to hike the cost of signing up to see the latest streaming Marvel shows or Star Wars spin-offs. And he asks the question, are we pricing correctly? Says this will certainly make investors happy. Is this something they want to see and hear? And yeah, so I'll leave it at that as of right now. So, I think he says the streaming business, which I believe is the future, has been growing, is not delivering basically the kind of profitability or bottom line results that the linear business delivered for us over a few decades ago. So Stuart, I'm going to go ahead and hand this off to you. Bob Iger, seemingly putting his focus elsewhere, clearly continuing to focus on the storylines that certainly made Disney popular to certainly begin with. Clearly having a different perspective on how Disney streaming should certainly be run, as they're going to be making some cuts not only to their workforce, but maybe even slashing in regards to some of the budgets for their upcoming television stuff and film. What do you think about all this, though, Stuart, when you hear Bob Iger talk about this?
It's like really hard for me to say because it's like I know that like before Bob Iger was brought back with Bob
Chapek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Bob Chapek. I know that it felt like that was when Disney Plus was like doing a lot in terms of like not only producing like a lot of content, but like even as they said, like doing a lot of advertising. And I think they were just like hoping that within like 5 or 6 years, they would be making a certain amount of money back and eventually it would all kind of be worth it. And I'm assuming that the numbers aren't as good as they anticipated. So, it kind of, unfortunately, it kind of makes sense that the next step would be, in order to get some of that money back, would be to do layoffs. It's hard to say for sure because again, it's not like I'm working at Disney. It's not like I know exactly what the numbers are, but I'm just kind of going off of what I'm guessing from just everything we've like kind of seen from the past few years. So it's like, even though this is like a really shitty decision, because like, a lot of people are going to be losing their jobs. It's also, I don't necessarily know if Bob Iger is the one to blame for it per se, because it feels like, when you kind of come into a company that's like, losing a lot of money, and, you come to that company because they expect you to bring that money back, you're kind of forced to make some like hard decisions like this. But again, it's hard to say because I don't necessarily know for sure what the numbers are when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm just kind of like looking at it from the outside and just trying to kind of guess what, they're thinking at the moment. But yeah, it's too bad. However, I do kind of hope this means maybe slowing down just, a little bit, just like, easing up on the gas pedal when it comes to a lot of the content that they've been dropping on Disney. Because, it's not that none of it's good, but it's just that it's been leading to a lot of people being overworked. And then also on top of that, getting underpaid, especially when it comes to the special effects department. So hopefully that's like something that can get, fixed going forward with Bob Iger now in charge. And that is like the other thing too. If you're laying off that many people, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to pay the current people that are working under you a fair wage.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. When you bring that up about the content on Disney Plus, it does make me wonder, like, what's going to happen to my Marvel shows and my TV shows in regards to it? Like, is the budget for those shows going to be dropping significantly? It does make me wonder, like you said, Stuart, right? Will they start reeling back in some of the content that they create? Or, is Bob Iger okay with the idea of them putting out so much content as they are? I mean, I guess maybe for certain franchises it works because maybe he realizes those are his money makers at the end of the day. But if I'm not mistaken, I think Disney Plus, I think they just had a report that they lost like 2 million subscribers just recently, if I'm not mistaken. So, I think Bob Iger's mindset in regards to trying to make things profitable again does feel like it's kind of a course correction from what Bob Chapek was certainly doing. I think they just announced also, hey, we're giving you Toy Story 5 and a Frozen 3, right? I mean, those are just billion-dollar films waiting to be into their bank account sort of thing, right? So you talk about the idea of going back to storytelling, trying to make a profit. I think the release of those two upcoming films alone is certainly moving in the right direction for some people. But if anything, I do wonder where some of the other cost cutting is going to come from. Obviously, like we said, the unfortunate loss of 7,000 jobs for some people. But where else will he certainly look to kind of cost cut is what my next concern would certainly be in regards to, is that going to cut back on Star Wars and Marvel content? Or is it going to be, will we see it in the actual budget itself in the way that the production is certainly run kind of going forward? But it seems as though he wants to go more back into theaters. And I don't want to say necessarily not pushing Disney Plus like they used to, but I always looked at streaming, or at least Disney Plus in general, or just streaming in general, as like this. I feel like there's only but so far you can go, right? Like I feel like there's only but so many households that you can kind of be in. And when he talks about disruptors, I mean, he's probably talking about Netflix, HBO, Amazon, right? All these other streaming services that are in this particular competitive world that you're having to pull back and forth when it comes to subscribers. So I feel like their profit margins or their subscribers are going to constantly fluctuate, roller coaster ride in regards to, when can people afford all this? When can they not? Are they just going to come back for a particular show and then leave? It's that not knowing, that roller coaster, and you kind of want things to be a little bit more constant and know that you're going to be making profit in other departments. So I kind of get the pushback for sure. And I think his announcement of, like I said, Toy Story 5 and Frozen 3 is the announcements that showcase where he certainly wants his mindset and profit to certainly come from. And I think that's the movie theaters. What are you thinking about, though, Indy, when you hear this news for what Bob is doing?
I can get where he's coming from, but I think the issue where the places where they feel like if he's losing money, especially where it's on like the Disney Plus side, is because they're on Disney Plus. Let's be real. Although that we have incredible things that we come there that we run to go see, it's far and few in between. Like there is not enough content being rolled out to Disney Plus for an adult like me. Like for my kids, they can watch the same 6 seasons of Bluey for the rest of their lives and they'll be happy, right? But for me, how much content are you actually rolling out that I'm interested in? All right, Willow was cool. I'm not going back to watch that. I'm sitting here waiting on the things that you promised me, the X-Men 94, the Ironheart. I'm waiting on all these series. I'm waiting on Loki season 2. It's a waiting game. So why am I paying all this extra money, to hurry up and wait? If it wasn't for the fact that I switched phone companies not too long ago and that I got Disney Plus for free, I probably still wouldn't have it. So that's where it comes from for me. When you have streamers, Netflix, Amazon, they're constantly putting out content that I want to see, that I want to watch. HBO Max. I mean, I feel like I'm to the point now I can go to Netflix and I could let them choose for me something to watch. It's going to be something halfway interesting, whether I got to read subtitles or not. The content on Disney Plus isn't there yet, but they are still a fairly new streamer. They haven't been around that long, and they either need to buy more libraries or something to add more content on there that that I want to see. As far as it goes with the movies, man, Phase 4 wasn't what it was supposed to be. When your main point of income, when you're spending more than what you're making and your main point of income is these movies and people aren't going out to go see them like they should, maybe you should start supporting theaters more. Maybe give me more than just a popcorn bucket, for coming to see the movie. Have incentives, have something go on. But when I know something like Wakanda Forever is going to be on Disney Plus 4 months later, 3 to 4 months later, what's the purpose of me going out spending money, to go see it at the theater, whether it made almost $1 billion or not? I mean, you look at Toy Story 4, they just now crossed $1 billion. That's what straight, So it's like, what are they going to do in order to make sure that the money comes in when more money needs to be spent on special effects? It's costing billions of dollars just to roll these movies out, and you're just trying to make your money back. So I don't know. Maybe make Disney World tickets cheaper so more people can go there. And you know what I'm saying, have that even up the cost, something like that. Because $100 a ticket is crazy. You know what I'm saying? To go stand in the line for 4 hours to ride some teacups.
Yeah, it's been a minute since I've been to Disney World or Disneyland. I got to make a family trip out there one day. I haven't been out there since college, so it's been a minute. What about you, Sarah, though? When you hear what Bob Iger's saying in regards to their changing of plans and the unfortunate layoff, what are some of the things that are coming to your mind?
Well, I think everybody's already touched on a lot of really good points. I mean, to go back to what Indy was just saying, at the end of the day, Disney's new to this streaming service game. So they're shocked when they don't deliver a new original show in 2 months. I think the last one that they technically dropped, if you don't count Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, is Andor. People are going to turn off the subscription until the next big thing drops. And they're not used to that. So I think it's kind of reactionary, but they're still figuring out things, especially as COVID, the big effect of COVID is kind of over. I don't know if you ever officially say it's over, but they're still figuring out the landscape post-COVID. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I that certainly makes sense, especially considering like streaming felt like it got as big as it could during COVID. You know, everybody's staying home and needs something to certainly watch, right? But now that the chains are kind of coming off a little bit and people are kind of going back out into the movie theaters, things have certainly changed to a certain extent. What do you think about it, Will?
Yeah, I think they are looking at how they're structuring things, and one of the, I know we in our space here we focus on the Disney Plus, but you know the Disney umbrella has many things in it. It has Hulu, it has ESPN, ABC, and I saw where I think as part of the moves that Iger is doing is restructuring the internal workings of the company. So I think ESPN, you know, obviously with the sports, that's a huge, huge driver as far as cost and stuff. And I think they are pushing that. You know, they're making it its own standalone entity to get some cost savings there. You know, they're not selling it by any measure, but trying to, I guess, you know, whatever the accounting methods they utilize to try to help the balance sheet look a little bit better. Doing things like that. Iger mentioned that, you know, selling off Hulu is not out of the question. So, I mean, there's things that he's looking at, and you know, and you know, streaming. I guess the growth of streaming has, you know, came from the, you know, people cutting the cord, for example, and so a lot of the revenue that comes from cord cutting that they, you know, from cable, where they used to get the subscriber fees from all the cable network, you know, from the cable distributors. You know, it's not there anymore. So I guess they're you know, again looking at various aspects of the business model to see where we need to make adjustments. You know, I think Andy and Steve, you raised a point that and Adam, that streaming's not there yet. I mean, as far as where cable was, say, you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago, where that was the prompt, you know, one of those fees that they got from that was one of the big drivers of their revenue. And Sarah and I've talked about this quite a bit too. It's just like, she's right. I mean, a lot of people see the series you want, cut the cord or cut the streamer, and then you come back whenever there's a special, you know, take advantage of the special free trial to, you know, as people binge watch and that kind of thing. So, you know, I think, and Iger admits this, that it's a new landscape. And I think it sounds like he's going to lean a little bit more on the traditional revenue landscape for now, as we figure out the streaming landscape as it moves forward.
Do you guys think that we'll ever get to the point for streaming service where it just ends up becoming the cable model? Like, you know, in order to guarantee its growth or yearly income, it's like we got to lock you in for a year, like year-long contract sort of thing?
It might. Potentially. I mean, you're looking at Netflix, for example, now with their password sharing. I mean, they're rolling that out where they're cracking down on that because they saw that that's a place where we're hemorrhaging money because people are sharing passwords. But also I think giving people also the option, so maybe with the ad tier. I mean, it seems like all the streamers now have the ad supported tier as well. So, we all grew up watching commercials, and so we've gotten spoiled with streaming where you don't have to worry about that now with hour-long shows. But but some people are, some subscribers will be fine doing ad supported. So I think they're again, I think he clearly made this Disney the envy of all these studios and content producers for during his first tenure. And he's a smart man, and he's gonna probably put together a smart team that will figure out how to make this a very profitable model moving forward.
Is HBO Max making money?
I don't know if they've turned a profit. That's a good point, Sarah. But Warner Discovery has done. We've forgotten it, but all the cost cutting measures they've made. I mean, in the last month? I mean, we've seen all these tech companies
trying to save $3 billion.
Yeah, and we've seen all the tech companies, Meta, Alphabet, Google, YouTube. All of them have had layoffs and cost cuttings because for various reasons, the models that they thought were going to be profitable have not turned out to be that way, and so I think we're seeing that contraction across the board with these folks. The only one I haven't seen anything as far as is maybe Apple, or have they? But Apple's very like they're very judicious in rolling out their content. They're not trying to get in an arms race with Netflix right now.
Yeah, I did see also an article that when it comes to Warner Brothers, that they were supposed to merge HBO Max and Discovery Plus together, but I actually just read an article that they are deciding against doing that they're going to keep them as two separate entities. So I'm kind of curious if the business model changing and how how streaming services is currently, if that's what changes their mind or not. But you're right, Will. I think David Zaslav was trying to save about $3 billion, and so he definitely did a ton of cuts wherever he could find them.
How did Amazon Prime do with Lord of the Rings? Because that show was the most expensive show ever, right?
Yeah,
I'm not mistaken.
I want to say I think it was I think it may have been Warner, because whoever owns the rights to Warner to the Rings franchise was looking at either selling off more. Maybe I think it was HBO. So I don't. As far as Amazon, I haven't seen their earnings report recently, so I don't know how they're doing. But yeah.
And they kind of do have that model that Adam was just talking about, because it's all through Amazon Prime. And I think my membership with Amazon Prime is for a year, but then again, that also goes into purchases off of Amazon's site. So I think it's interesting how, yes, we have all of these subscriptions, but they're each unique with how they're connected to these larger companies. So I don't think I'm curious to see if there is a standard streaming service model that would work for all of these companies, or if it's just going to be dependent on a lot of unique factors. And so one model might not work for another.
Well,
that's a good point.
With the Rings of Power, they haven't said exact numbers, but I know that the Amazon boss did an interview a while ago, like right before Christmas. And he said that the Rings of Power had already paid off the massive investment and then some. So it was already turning a profit back before Christmas. So it's no telling what it is now, because they always give streaming numbers. They don't ever give earned revenue.
Right.
So we have because I don't think they want us to know how much money is actually going towards towards that. Because we'd probably be very surprised, oh, y'all taking that and y'all putting it here, and y'all only putting this much in the television, and we're actually watching this. I don't care about the rest of this stuff. So they don't want us to know that. And
Yeah.
then HBO Max drove like a 15.4% spike in Warner Media in Q4. So that's like $3.8 billion, the overall HBO Max. But still, we don't know. They were at 50, I think like $58 million in debt before the Discovery merger. So that's a 3.8 billion knockoff. So it's doing something. It's probably not doing enough, but yo, you can't turn a nose up to $3.8 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't
Appreciate those numbers, Andy.
Yeah. I feel like HBO Max is winning. Like it again, they're fairly new, but the new content that they put out, the House of the Dragon was huge for them. It seems like this Harley Quinn thing is going to be, you know what I'm saying, huge.
Oh, the
People are
animated?
anticipating that. Yeah. So
but
we'll see what happens.
The Last of Us is killing it right now.
It's killing it right now.
How many viewers was on Friday night? I'm curious because episode 4 had over 7 million viewers.
Every week. Yeah, every week it
keeps
grown.
increasing, and it keeps killing Will.
Jeez.
Like the poor man. I'm surprised he's here today because I know he was really reeling after Friday night's episode.
I'm still reeling from it. Yeah.
Because it's one of the few shows where like because before, like most shows that are on HBO Max, like I'll tell my coworkers about it and maybe one or two other people will be like, oh yeah, I've seen that too. This is like the first one where I bring it up to almost any coworker and they're immediately like, oh my gosh, I'm loving The Last of Us.
Yeah, it's such a popular show.
Water cooler conversation. That's what you want, especially if you're a streaming service doing week to week. You need those conversations so that you get people who didn't watch the first episode to go and watch it and then get caught up and stay on until the end.
12.4 million viewers
on a Friday night.
Wow.
Maybe we should just start taking wagers each week as to how many people are watching this show. That's unbelievable to me.
That's nearly double from their previous episode. That's crazy, and it's on a Friday night. It's a different night from when they usually drop it. Man, I don't think they should have been worried about the Super Bowl, frankly.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure some people would sacrifice the Super Bowl in order to watch The Last of Us. For sure, it's that hollow of the show right now.
And for those souls who did not know, who somehow missed a memo that it didn't, that it came out early, and they see it tonight. So, by the end of the weekend, we could easily see 13 to 15 million.
I'm going to be honest with you. They could have probably aired Super Bowl. All you have to do is just air after the halftime show and guarantee you take all the Super Bowl viewership.
Right.
Assuming it's not a close game.
I don't think being a close game is going to help because from what I'm seeing, nobody really cares about the two teams that are in. If you're not in Philadelphia or Kansas City, who's really watching the game, unless you're betting on anything like that, just take all the viewership because I'm not going up against Rihanna. I'm not doing nothing during the halftime show. And if you're smart, you do it after the halftime show and you want a commercial with Rihanna watching The Last of Us. that leads into your episode and your goal.
I love it, man. I love it. But guys, look, let us know your thoughts. You hear this about Bob Iger, the new transition for Disney Plus with him in charge now. Let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. We'll definitely continue this conversation throughout the week. But that will wrap up that topic. And we got two more topics. We'll see if we get to both of them or not. But we're going to go ahead and switch into high gear a little bit and dive into some superhero news and discussion here as we're going to get into our DC bag today as The Flash has in fact returned for its final season in season 9. It wound up dropping earlier this week. If you guys have missed our season 9 episode 1 review, it is currently up over on our YouTube page, presented to us by Indy Uchiha himself. Certainly good to have you back on board, man, with these weekly reviews. But The Flash is certainly here, and this is going to be the final season, the final run, if I'm not mistaken, for The Flash itself. So we got the season premiere this week, and I really wanted to pick everybody's brains in regards to what they've thought about this particular episode. Indy already did the review, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump over to Stuart first because I really want to know your thoughts, Stuart. For season, you put season 8 on here, Indy. I didn't even realize that. We might have to update that, update that thumbnail. Season 9, episode 1, Stuart. What did you think? Do you think it was a great kickoff for this final season, or were you expecting more?
It definitely did not feel like a season opener, and it especially did not feel like a final season opener to me. It to me kind of came off as just like your typical filler episode of The Flash. I think like I don't know. It's weird because the previous season they really wanted to cement in the fact that the team has really leveled up, and they did some pretty awesome. They had some pretty awesome moments that really showed how much the team has evolved over the years. And then it kind of feels like they completely went back on a lot of that in this episode, especially the fact that you got Barry struggling to take out a guy with boomerangs and nothing else, and the fact that his first instinct when he sees this guy with boomerangs and in a device that he doesn't even recognize is to throw lightning at it. Yeah, just a lot of things like that just made the episode very underwhelming. I didn't think it was a bad episode, but I think the problem is like season 8 had such an awesome opener, I think, like with their first episode. So I think maybe my expectations may have been unfairly high going into this, and it ended up just kind of like just feeling like very underwhelming for a final season opener.
You guys agree? How do you guys feel about it?
Will, I watched it. Because so we have had a bet on if we're going to watch season 9 of The Flash because we fell off season 8. And I really did. I kind of drew my line. I honestly, I think there was a crossover that happened right before season 8, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the
Armageddon.
Armageddon, yeah.
Yeah, that's the last thing I watched. But I knew we were going to talk about today, so I played it on the background while I was doing other things. And I think Stuart makes is hit the nail on the head with that. It didn't feel like a season opener. That being said, in comparison to bad episodes of The Flash, I thought it was better, and I think a lot of fans appreciate how it had the moral of the story or the heart of the story, this issue, this conflict between Barry and Iris, kind of allowed it to feel more viewers to be able to connect to it more because it dealt with a real relationship issue of how do we plan this future. And then you add on the superhero element of it, the superpower element of it, and I think it worked with the characters, despite all of its flaws and just it being The Flash and a very low budget CW show. And the other thing I told Will after I finished watching it is, I'm like, man, I love watching actors who like what they're doing. All of the actors are checked out. they're done. I really think they're just waiting. They're running to that day when they can say no more of this. But
yeah, to that point, Grant even saw an interview with Grant. Either the day of the premiere where he's like, "Yeah, I'm ready. It's been 9 years." Whenever you start an interview where it was like. The lead was, I'm going to be the Flash. I am the Flash. As Christopher Reeve is Superman to many people, Grant Gustin will always be Barry Allen to many people. But at the same time, he was like, it's not a negative thing, but I'm ready to do something else. And God bless him. I mean, the man, it's like Stephen Amell. I mean, I think Stephen mentioned very similar sentiments. When Arrow season 8 rolled around, or 7 or 8 rolled around, where he was like, he went into Greg Berlanti, he's like, I'll do it, but you got to pay me. And I think, you know, we saw the same thing with Grant, where I think he returned, but he got a very nice paycheck for these remaining 13 episodes. And Eric Wallace, God bless him. You know, you know, whenever he first became showrunner, he was saying all the right things about the show and how his energy, he's a fan, this and that and the other. But his run, he just ran his show into the ground. You know, season 7 was where I was starting to feel the threads, and then by season 8, halfway through Armageddon, whenever it was started so strong, and then they went to this crazy story. I mean, we during our shows, it became more, you know, gripe sessions about the show, and that's when we were like, let's just stop it, because let's just take it off our weekly rundown. We have just, you know, there's another thing Sarah mentioned to me this weekend we were talking is, you know, there's just such amazing content that's out there now that, you know, it's when there's that, I mean, I'll always have a special appreciation for the show because, you know, it brought us together, for example. And, you know, in those early seasons were just, you know, the Arrowverse has a very special place in bringing the genre forward in a way, especially those early seasons that, you know, that along with the MCU, you know, it really was growing the space and making it accessible to everybody. So I think, you know, so it definitely does that, but unfortunately these shows just don't end well, and it's time. It's time. Joy to Run. Thank you for bringing amazing fandom together. Thank you for bringing us together just to do Scene and Nerd. But beyond that, I'm ready. I'm gonna watch the last season just because I feel like I've invested 9 years into the show now.
Got to see how it ends, right?
Got to see how it ends.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of you. I fell off the show this season of Cicada, I believe. I don't know if that was Eric Wallace's first season or not. But I gave it maybe half a season, if that, and eventually wind up falling off myself. But considering that this was going to be the last season, there was a part of me that just kept thinking to myself, like, man, I started out this series. Let me at least try and wrap it up, you know? And so I actually did watch the first episode this week. I was so proud of myself for actually checking it out and seeing what it's like, because I've been so disconnected from The Flash, you know, with the exception of hearing Indy and Stewart maybe talk about it here on the show from time to time. So, you know, when but I would agree with you guys. This was just kind of a middle of the pack episode for me. It felt strange in the sense like I was expecting something bigger, more bombastic, much bigger scope for the final season's first episode, season premiere sort of thing. So it was certainly underwhelming in that regards, but I will connect back to what Sarah was saying. I think if there was anything that I appreciated from the episode, it was the relationship between Iris and Barry, and just their struggles of the idea of her wanting to sort of form her own future and not be constrained to just, you know, timeline moments here and there that maybe Barry has kind of picked up. I mean, talk about the amount of pressure someone's got to put on you. Like, hey, babe, you're going to get married in 3 months. Like, what the, like, maybe I want to have a life for myself before I even get to that point of having kids sort of thing. Right. So I kind of appreciated the storyline and seeing how that kind of all got resolved. But I can't lie, because of the fact that I haven't been following up with this show so much, I came into this episode in the very first opening scene where you've got like Killer Frost there. You know, you got Joe there along. I can't even remember half these people's names, but like everybody has superpowers in the beginning. And it just, for some reason, it just reminded me of Supergirl and Super Friends, where it almost felt like every cast member at some point in time had to acquire abilities or be a superhero at some point. Like, we couldn't just have regular ass characters or supporting characters. Everybody had to be a superhero. So when I came in here, I was like, that's where we're at in the Flash. Like, I didn't even know we came this far where everybody's got abilities. But then he woke up from his nightmare and it kind of all made sense to me. But you know, at the end of the day, they all do, right? So I'm just like, man, everybody's got abilities to some extent. So for me, it was just middle of the pack. It didn't really do too much for me, but you know, I at least appreciated the storyline at the end of the day. But yeah, you know, and you know, Will, you talked about the idea of like, having to sit through so many seasons, the idea of maybe not even reviewing the show because of how bad it went. You know, the fact that you said that, Indy, I want to apologize to you, man, for having you review this show every season for our channel, man.
So how I learned about
you deserve
Indy,
a medal.
Indy is why we're part of what I first I watched your Flash reviews, and that's how I found you guys, and I enjoy them because I was like, okay, is there somebody out there who still can help me find that will help me find the joy about this show that's not but also critical where they need to be, because that's the other thing too, is I don't like people just like blowing smoke up there, just blowing smoke up everybody's ass about how great this episode is, and when we all know that it's not.
Yeah, now I feel bad for like quitting halfway through the last. I could not do that second half of season 8. I tried my best. I just gave up like episode 7. I was like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, that was actually, I was religiously watching it, and then I think there was an episode. Yeah, there were 2. I quit.
The zombie episode, Will. The zombie episode. I will never forget it. It was the first time where I actually watched it, and Will told me, he's like, I turned it off. Like, what?
yeah, but and I think the other thing too is just like, Eric Wallace, what else missing? God bless him, bless his heart, as we say down here in the South. When he was talking about what he would do with season 10 and all that stuff, I was like, just focus your energies on doing a damn good job with what you have. Don't tell me what you're planning on doing. Just do your job well. But anyway, enough about that.
Nah, there's a common denominator in Eric Wallace's run and why I feel like the shows have gone downhill. There's been, to me, and everybody knows this who watches the reviews, there's been too much of a focus on Iris, not enough focus on Barry. If you look at this episode we just saw, it was way more Iris than Barry. Like I love the fact that she's his lightning rod and she's the reason he does what he does. But I feel like her being so much in the forefront rather than her storyline moving along in the background where we can just piece stuff together is one of the reasons why I don't feel like this is the Flash. Like ever since I think like season 6, it's been all Iris. And they even made Barry disappear for like 4 episodes and we had to sit and watch Iris do everything.
But I agree with you that there's a focus on Iris, and this is where I meant earlier in the show today. I mentioned the concept of Wally West, some of those things, because Linda Park in the comic book was Wally's lightning rod. That concept came up in the comic book, so and it was done very well. I just feel that I don't mind Iris being front and center. Candace is an amazing actress. She does a wonderful job. It's also great to have a strong Black woman lead. Mm-hmm. So that's not my issue. My issue is writing shitty ass stories about this character that linger for too long. And I think that's where the problem has been. That mirror universe thing could have been,
the mirror
that's
universe.
That's where this show has failed. That character has failed that cast.
The mirror universe, and you go straight from the mirror universe. All right, we're done with this, and you go straight into the time sickness. Like, can we just set her aside and just do something with somebody else, please? Like Barry has to have motive. He just had this heart-wrenching thing happen with the person he idolized with Oliver. You know what I'm saying? With everything what Oliver went through, and then we're right back on to none of that matters. It's right back to he didn't even get to mourn or get through any of that because it went right back to Iris. And it should have been so much character building on him becoming a leader, you know what I'm saying, off of dealing with happened with Oliver. But nah, we'll just use Iris. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know if it's like, for all I know, Candace Pack would be like, look, you got to make me more prominent, or you know what I'm saying, or I'm done with this.
She's been pretty vocal about. Yeah, she's been pretty vocal about it.
So that could be part of the reason, but it's just not good, you know what I'm saying, for the storytelling. Think about it. Even with the Felicity, with the Oliver and Felicity thing, they even trailed that back when it started to get to the point that was dragging, you know what I'm saying, the show down a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so simple to make a well, let me not say that because I'm not a writer. Sorry, Stuart. I feel like it's simple to be able to make a prominent story when you have somebody like the Flash with all these years of lore, even if you want to take something adapted and make it different. But with that said, I don't think this episode was as bad. I didn't take it as an opening episode. I took it as a continuation.
Yeah.
And that's the way I watched it, leading
Yeah.
up to what we got at the end with, you know what I'm saying, the reveal. And maybe
Yeah.
I was just happy for seeing my boy Richard Harmon playing Owen Mercer, Captain Boomerang, because I was a huge 100 fan. And when I saw him, I was a huge 100 fan. And when I saw him, I was like, yes, he has work. I was just geeked that he was there and that it looks like he's going to be there throughout these 9 episodes, that he's going to be around for a while. So that made me happy because I'm like, I feel like we're actually going to get somewhat of a story. I just don't feel like we have enough time to explain this story fully.
Yeah. I completely agree. But yeah, Sarah's right. I mean, I think what really those early seasons too, when you go back and look, it's really those core character beats and really fleshing those things out is what make this show work. And you know, it's just gotten diluted over time. But
the stakes have definitely gotten diluted with that show because they keep bringing back freaking Harrison Wells. They go to the same well for everything, pun intended. And that's what drove me away. And I find it shocking because the first season of The Flash is arguably a perfect season of television. And part of that is because you had a hero who had loss in his life, and there was grief and there was pain. And I feel like with CW, what they're doing with these heroes is they're afraid to take away the characters because they'll just save Iris at the end of the day, and then it's like, okay, everything is all right in the world again, and nobody sacrifices anything, nobody loses anything, and then your stakes deplete, and you can't go back to what was so impactful about that first season.
Right.
It's like they don't want to hurt people's feelings.
And also there. Go ahead. Another thing too is I think where the fatigue for the Arrowverse came into, and this is something Sarah and I really, especially when we were covering multiple Arrowverse shows, were the structure, because it just felt like the structure, you know, just plug in Iris, plug in Barry, plug in Kara, plug in Oliver. But the thematic structure of the Berlanti storytelling was replicated across those shows and those seasons. Even whenever, for Crisis, take that away because they had to build towards that. But whatever the struggle that the hero was dealing with that season, this was across all the ones, and some did it better than others. And I think that also led to some fatigue factor, at least I know for us, with watching these shows.
Well, I honestly feel like they did well with Oliver and Loss, but then they got to the point where he can't lose anymore. They took everybody from him. So what we're going to do?
We can't kill a child, okay? We're not going to kill a child.
We killed the mom.
That's where all the sacrifices went. All the sacrifices went to Arrow.
The mom, not the kid.
So, like, I totally understand that. I feel like maybe they missed out on possibly turning Oliver's son heel, like evil. You know what I'm saying? Like having a heel turn off of everything he had to experience as a kid. Like they missed that. But maybe that was too much Batman-esque that they didn't want to, you know what I'm saying, have that come across. But with Barry, what loss has Barry really dealt with other than his mom and his dad?
Right.
And he really never have to deal with that because Joe's always there. You know what I'm saying? Like he always he always saves the day. Somebody dies, he brings them back to life. Caitlin literally, the Frost died. And they was like, no, we'll just put her in the Michael Jackson chamber and she'll come back as a new character. And like I don't understand any of, you know what I'm saying? Maybe they'll be dope and explain it to us like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But you know, it's just I don't understand what they're writing, what they're doing. Some of it's entertaining. They introduce us to interesting characters and they take them away the same episode. You know what I'm saying? Like it makes absolutely no sense to me if they do. I understand it. Like I'm excited for Red Death. You know, I know they can't use Thomas Wayne. I know they can't use Bruce Wayne. So of course we're gonna get, you know what I'm saying, Ryan Wilder. If they mess this character up for me, I will burn every Flash DVD that I have. Like that's how much. That's how important.
Batwoman was our jam as far as the when things really got bad. At least we were like, well, at least we have Batwoman. But
right, and then they go, oh, we're sorry, no season 3. Like you're like, what? The show that was actually working, you're going to take away? It makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't know what the CW is doing, because all the shows that I used to watch are leaving. So you're leaving me nothing to watch at all. So let's just see what happens. This season might be the most incredible thing that we watched. They might be setting something up for something spectacular. But I don't know. I don't know. Like what Marcelino says, he said Iris might be bad, but she's not the worst character. And then he just goes off naming characters. The forces. I'm like, I don't think Allegra's been around long enough to be able to call her a bad character, because I feel like her character had a bunch of character development in the show and has went through phases and got through her loss. And she's also love interest for another character. Let's let that develop. Everybody else I agree with, other than Cecile, because I feel like Cecile's been a great character for that show, especially for Joe West and everything that's been going on. So I can't take that away from her. She's been an interesting character. I feel like her importance has been died down with her switching jobs and stuff. She was way more important character then, but I don't know. Just get rid of Iris, and I feel like the show is 110% better if Barry has to deal with that loss and he has to become the hero he's supposed to be with the loss of Iris. Bring her back later let her have kids and stuff like that later. But it's been too much Iris for 4 years.
Okay. I gotta disagree with Cecile. I've been disliking her character ever since she got powers. I loved her character before that.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, and Allegra. So interesting enough, that was a character. I think Eric worked on a comic book some years ago.
I think he wrote the character in the comics, right?
Yeah.
He shoehorned her in there, huh? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's an amazing way to get 2 checks. I'll just put my own character in the show. That way, if you fire me, I'm still getting paid.
Yeah.
I do want to highlight this article, just a quick paragraph here, though, because something in regards to Will said about, ever since Eric Wallace kind of came on board. This was from Entertainment Weekly. It says Wallace adds that there's a lot of hugging and crying going on during the filming right now between cast and crew as the end quickly approaches. I believe they might have wrapped up the season already, or at least are filming the last episode. But it does say I arrived in season 4 as a fan of the show, and then got lucky enough to suddenly find myself in a position to be privileged enough to run the show. And I fully imagine that I'll just run it for a little while, then I'll turn it over to somebody else. That's what happens in television. I thought it'll just keep running for 15 years like Supernatural, and I'll go back to watch it again as a fan. I had no idea that things would end on my watch. Yeah, I don't know if that's something to pat yourself on the back about, Eric, but
that makes sense now. Tom Cavanaugh is his Misha. That's why he keeps bringing Tom Cavanaugh back. it makes total sense.
Oh my god.
Wells is Castiel.
But I think everything going on with the CW in general has affected this show and the Arrowverse, because they're making all of their changes under their new management. And it's almost as though, I think Will showed me the viewership of all of the Arrowverse and then other shows that have really were the flagships for the CW, and how small the viewership is right now, how little it is, and it's fallen. And I feel as though these types of shows have just outgrown the network, and it'll be curious to see what the network does. And now we have comic book shows on so many different services. that the quality has increased. And so when we watch The Flash or an Arrow episode or Legends of Tomorrow, we're thinking to ourselves, well, Disney Plus is doing this, and you have other shows on HBO Max now, so, or you have the movies, and they can't compete with their budget sizes.
I agree. Anybody looking forward to Gotham Knights? No.
I'm curious about Misha.
That's probably about it. It might be like my love for Supernatural that makes me go watch a couple of episodes. Just like I'm not looking forward to that. Like, you could have just kept Riverdale on the air.
Is anybody looking forward to 20 years from now when these actors decide to start a podcast and rewatch all 9 seasons of The Flash? Because that's what
react to their own episodes.
That's what I feel as though all of these old WB shows are doing. Or you have
Star Trek is doing it. There's actors in Star Trek who have podcasts. The Office is another one. I mean, there's all these shows.
I think Michael. Exactly. Was it Tom Welling and them? They have a podcast.
Scrubs, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia as well.
Marcelino, I just want to let you know, man. Allegra, it was like a 2-book run that Eric Wallace did. It's Titans. That's probably why you're not thinking about it. Created by Eric Wallace. She was in literally 2 issues. First appearance was like issue 38. Last appearance was issue 40 in Titans. So she really is a comic character. It's just like one of them crazy pulls where you got to pull like out the air because she existed for 2 issues.
Guys, let us know your thoughts in regards to The Flash season 9. The final season is certainly here. Did you check out the season premiere? What did you guys think of it? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. Blossom says, still freaked out that Eobard took Wells' body like the energy in a car battery.
I will say that was like one of my favorite shots, though. Like as mixed as season 8 was, I do think that moment where you just got you had like Harrison Wells's Eobard just kind of rip the skin off of I forgot the other actor's name, but the other Eobard
Matt Lester.
You just had him rip Matt Lester's skin apart, and then it was like Tom Cavanaugh underneath. I freaking love that shot.
There were some that's the thing. There are some high watermarks and highlights from these rough seasons, but man, just getting through some of those filler episodes.
He said he's glad Matt Lester is returning and he hopes he stays Reverse Flash. He should be Reverse Flash season 1. A lot of people have that sentiment, but Tom Cavanaugh is just such a S level, I'm like a great actor. I wouldn't want to have it taken away from him playing these multitudes of characters and just flipping it on and off, because that was one of the appeals of that, is watching him just do his thing. It just got to the point where he was doing it too much. Some of them Wells characters, like
we get it, bro. You've got range. We get it.
Yeah. But Carlos and Tom are 2 people we haven't heard so far
about coming back. Yeah, I would be surprised, man.
Yeah.
I would geek out over Carlos coming back. I'm not even gonna lie. The show's been missing him. You know what I'm saying? I love seeing a black smart guy on a television show, but bruh, you I need the original squad back.
Yeah, I do miss Cisco. All right, guys, that will wrap up our Flash topic. We got one more topic. We could probably breeze through this real quick before we say farewell to our guests and everything. So let's go ahead and knock out this last one. James Gunn wind up dropping his DCU Chapter 1 slate a couple of weeks back. We wind up going through the 10 titles, 5 movies, 5 television projects for you guys. But one title that was certainly missing from there was, in fact, the upcoming Constantine sequel. As you guys might have known, a few months back, maybe sometime last year, we wind up having Keanu Reeves come out and talk about the idea that a Constantine sequel was, in fact, happening. So the big question now is Is that still happening with James Gunn now helming DC Studios? And apparently it certainly is. Let's go ahead and go over to this article. This is from Entertainment Weekly, letting us know that Constantine sequel with Keanu Reeves still hell-blazing ahead amid the new DC slate. It says the Hollywood A-lister has been working for years to make this movie happen, talking about Keanu Reeves. Well, rest assured, even in the face of a lot of reshuffling of the DC superhero slate, the film is still happening. A spokesperson for Warner Brothers confirmed that to Entertainment Weekly that Constantine 2 is not scrapped. Internet chatter going around social media suggested that it had been. It did say last week James Gunn and Peter Safran did reveal their plans. Constantine 2 had not been mentioned at this time. It is unclear where Constantine 2 will land in these plans. It is worth noting that Gunn stated that there are more projects that will be announced for Chapter 1. It should also be said that Constantine exists in the same dark fantasy of the DC universe as Swamp Thing, who is confirmed for his own origin movie. So yeah, Constantine 2 apparently so far is still happening according to Warner Brothers. And honestly, I'm kind of pumped about this, guys. If anything, my biggest question would probably be, do you guys think that this will be a DC Elseworlds project, or do you think it'll be part of the DCU chapter one, maybe not even chapter 1 slate, but a part of the DCU slate? What do you guys think?
I think that's probably going to be, well, I think it's going to be probably the Elseworlds. I mean, I think that's where, I think James during his intro video, made a very big point of talking about Elseworlds options with and I think Safran and Gunn during their interview, their rollout to media, at least with the DC Gods and Monsters slate, thought that they were going to use existing actors. So so of course Jason can come back as Aquaman and Gal as Wonder Woman and others. And so I think this is where Elseworlds will come into play, where Keanu can continue to be Constantine or Constantine if you use the pronunciation from
The Sandman.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that's where it'll fall.
What about you, Stuart? What are you thinking?
I think one of two things could happen. Number one, most likely one, is that I really think it's just going to be a Elseworlds storyline. But there is a chance, and I say this just given the fact that when the universe gets rebooted into the DC universe, they are keeping a lot of the actors from the DCEU going into this. So I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to kind of like merge not just the DCEU into the DCU, but maybe like characters from other universes as well. So if they wanted to, I could see them using that John Constantine, merging a version of him into this universe, but kind of rewriting or recontextualizing a lot of the events in the first movie in order to make it more comic book accurate, basically, if that's the direction they go. But one thing,
pretty cool.
One thing I am pretty certain of, though, is I'm pretty sure it's safe to say this is not just a rumor, because so far I'm currently looking on James Gunn's Twitter and he's done nothing to debunk this, which given how fast James Gunn reacts to this kind of stuff, it leads me to believe that regardless of what direction they go in with it, it does seem like it's happening still.
Yeah, the latest rumor was George Clooney as the new Batman, which he has debunked. No George Clooney returning. It will be a new actor. What about you? What are you thinking, Sarah, in regards to this Constantine? Where do you think it's going to land?
I think it's probably Elseworlds. I mean, when Will and I were talking about the slate, the promises that we'll see what gets maintained, I was saying how it just feels as though he went through the list and said, okay, this one is for you guys, this one's for me. And so I think Constantine falls into the projects that are for him. So it just would make sense if it's an Elseworld, but you never know.
I am hoping. Look, I expect it to be Elseworlds, but there is a part of me that really hopes you're right, Stuart, in the sense that it gets folded into the DCU. One, simply because Keanu Reeves is a headline name for the DCU. I think under James Gunn would be incredible. Talk about just pulling eyes into the DCU to certainly check out what you're doing. And I think it'd be really cool if, we got the Swamp Thing movie that's been announced, that being a horror, sort of a horror film. I would love the idea of Keanu Reeves to pop up in that film at some point in time. One, I think it never hurts to kind of get the rub of the big star onto another character's movie to kind of get people in the seats. But also, J.J. Abrams has been working on. I think his deal with Warner Brothers Discovery has him working on a Justice League Dark content. I know we had the Zatanna series canceled. I think they even had like a Madame Xanadu series in the works that I don't think they're moving forward with at all. But I do think the idea of having Keanu Reeves as Constantine to kind of maybe lead the charge for perhaps a future Justice League Dark movie, I think would be great. And just to kind of help open up that horror element of the DCU a little bit by either teaming him up with Swamp Thing or having him play a small little cameo, I think would really go a long way. So while I wouldn't be surprised if it's an Elseworlds film, just because, this is connected to a storyline that took place years ago. It would make sense for it to be Elseworlds, but the fan in me certainly would love to see this developed into something DCU related for sure. What about you, Indy? How do you feel about a Constantine sequel still going ahead? You think it's a mistake, or go for it?
Look, I was begging for a Constantine sequel in 2005. I really feel like that was a very underrated movie. A lot of people didn't even know it was a comic book movie. They thought it was. I had people I used to talk to, they thought it was a sequel to, what's the movie he played the lawyer in?
The Devil's Advocate.
Oh, yeah,
Devil's
Advocate. They thought it was tied to like the Devil's Advocate. It was like a different storytelling of that. But me being a comic nerd, I was like, no, that's Constantine. This is the world he fits into. Honestly, and this is just me. I don't know how other people feel about this. I feel like Keanu's to the point where he's too big for Constantine. Like to have him come back, I feel like he's lowering himself to come back and play the character unless it's something that he really wants to do. I also want to keep Keanu preserved as long as possible. It's scaring me that he's still doing John Wick movies. I want him to like just slow down and just be around for a while. But I honestly, and I'm an advocate for Matt Reeves. I really feel like he did the character justice when nobody else was even thinking about the character. I still think that the NBC run of that show was good, especially for like a first season of a show. Then to bring the character back for Legends and actually, develop the character into something else. DC's weird about taking TV people and making them, movie stars. But I really feel like Matt Reeves deserves a chance to be able to portray that character.
Matt Ryan?
Yeah, Matt Ryan. I keep saying Matt Reeves, don't I?
We're talking about DC. It's okay.
No, I'm thinking about Batman too at the same time, so leave me alone. But I do believe Matt Ryan deserves a chance to be able to, step into that role, on the big screen. And
do you guys think a Matt Ryan would be believable as Constantine on the big screen, or do you think he's like the perfect for TV role?
I think it really depends on the type of tone that they want to go for with a Constantine movie. So I never finished the Constantine TV show, so I'm sure he can do like really dark, real serious Constantine just fine. But now because of like Legends, I'm kind of like whenever I hear his voice, I'm always kind of like picturing like a campier kind of Constantine version. So I think it would just depend on the tone that they want to go for in a Constantine movie.
I get you. So we'll see what happens here, man. But Constantine sequel is certainly still set to go ahead and drop. If anything changes, though, in regards to James Gunn and Peter Safran's decision making, we'll definitely go ahead and keep you guys posted. But that will do it for all of our main topics. So yeah, let us know your thoughts in regards to the Constantine sequel in the comment section box below. All right, guys, I think that wraps up all of our main topics. Hey, listen, Will, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us for an episode of A+ Hero Report. I know we kept you here for a while, but always appreciate your insight and perspective, man. It's really truly great having you guys here. So I'm really blessed. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, you can again just find us where you get your podcast. You can go to our website. We got one, www.scenanerdpodcast.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Will and Sarah. And we'll definitely see you guys later. Hopefully, we can have you guys back in the future. But you guys enjoy your rest of your weekend, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys. And with that, man, that was fun, huh? Did you guys have a good time with Will and Sarah?
Yeah, I was like wondering how it was gonna work with 5 of us, if it was gonna like if it, like every topic was gonna like really drag, but no, I think we did a really good job of like yeah, I think it was really well organized for 5 people.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, I usually feel like we get through all of our topics in about 2 hours, mixed in with some honorable mentions. So I think it came in at a pretty good time trying to juggle everybody's perspectives and opinions for such a big panel. I was kind of intimidated, to be honest with you, with so many people. Like, oh my God, how much over are we gonna go in time? But yeah, they had some great points of view, man, and great perspective. So I'm very appreciative towards them. And hopefully, they can have us. Hopefully, we can be, have them come on our show again, or maybe even do some podcasts with them from time to time. So yeah,
We'll be like the Arrowverse of podcasts.
I dig it. It's all connected. And see, Indy, all your hard work paid off, man. Having to go and do all those seasons of The Flash for so long, somebody was listening, bro. Oh, hold on. I think you're muted.
That's where the one like was coming from every episode.
That
was good. Yeah. Appreciate you, Will.
But yeah, man, so awesome times. But all right, guys, with that out of the way, I think you know what time it is. Stuart, what time is this, sir?
It is now time for live viewer questions.
And we're gonna get into this week's live viewer questions. So let me go ahead and
I will be right back. Give me just 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Marcelino, look who's still here.
Yeah, he was asking about you. Let's see here. All right, so we're gonna go to our main YouTube page. Just click on that community tab, and I'm gonna go down here to our live viewer questions section and sort by newest first. And let's go ahead and tackle some topics today. Jessica Friedman, do you think we will learn about how Team Batwoman has been doing when Batwoman comes to Central City to help Team Flash? And would you like to see the once and always special pay some sort of tribute to JDF and Tui Trang? For the last half of that question, yeah, I would definitely love to see them do some sort of tribute. I don't necessarily know if they're going to do it via storyline. I'm not expecting storyline wise, at least not for JDF. For Tui, yeah, absolutely. But I do think that maybe towards the beginning of the episode or at the end during the credits, they'll probably will put something, in loving memory or in tribute to JDF and Tui Trang. So I'm sure they'll do a little bit of something there. But Indy, what about you? Do you think we'll learn about how Team Batwoman has been doing when Batwoman comes to Central City, or no?
Yeah, I think it's only apparent that we will get that. They'll let us know something about what's going on, but I want to understand what the conflict is of when they find out that Red Death is, evil. Well, not necessarily evil, another version of Ryan Wilder, considering that the villains in The Flash never think they're doing anything evil. They always have a reason for doing something. It just always ends up turning left and going down an evil path. But the reason they set off to do what they were going to do was the proper reason. They just got clouded in what they do. So it'd be a typical bad Batman story where he's doing stuff, the person will be doing stuff for the right reasons, just the wrong way.
I feel you there. Next question from Blossom. Remember when I asked why Justin gets a lot of hate? Is he the reason why kid heroes in tokusatsu aren't well received? For the record, the Beetleborgs were kids, so are my Imaginatrix Rangers. I'm a sucker for kid heroes. And then what do you guys think of the Cosmic Fury suits? Amelia totally rocks it in red. The suit made Javi more of a sexy badass than usual. I will say, I don't know if Justin getting a lot of hate, if he's the reason why kid heroes and tokusatsu aren't well received. I mean, I think tokusatsu and Power Rangers to me. I don't know if Justin had any effect on what, say, the Super Sentai seasons were doing at their time. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know why Kid Heroes aren't that well received. But I will say this: I did appreciate the concept of kids in the TOQger series. The idea of them being kind of like the only ones that can that have an imagination, right? That can kind of see things that the adults certainly can't see. And even though they did age them up in order to kind of be a Super Sentai team, I guess at the end of the day, I kind of still look at them as kid heroes to a certain extent. But maybe that's how Tokusatsu works its way around having kids heroes, by actually aging them up a little bit. But who knows? What do you guys think about the Cosmic Fury suits? Indy, have you had the opportunity to check them out yourself?
Yeah, I think they're cool. I like the fact that I've never been a fan of the suits that have too much stuff on them. You know what I'm saying? That they're like just crazy and just look like fighting game villain gone bad. I really like the simplicity of these suits, and I like the fact that it's something original. The best version of Power Rangers is when they were doing original stuff, whether some of the Disney stuff, different stuff like that. Those are the eras that I enjoyed the most. So I'm actually looking forward to not a Sentai, but a Power Ranger season for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting. What about you, Stuart? What are your thoughts on the Cosmic Fury suit? And do you think Justin is the reason why kid heroes and Tokusatsu aren't well received?
For the first one with the Justin thing, I don't think so, because if I remember correctly, like there was a period of time where Beetleborgs actually had more viewers than Power Rangers Turbo. So I think it was just that one of two things. Maybe just people didn't like the character of Justin, or maybe they were just really jealous because they wanted to be the ones who were fighting alongside the Power Rangers. I think it might have been one of those two things. Yeah. why can't I be the kid who's a part of the team? But yeah, I think I mentioned my thoughts on the Cosmic Fury suits before. I think that they looked really good on paper. I wasn't a fan of when we kind of saw them actually with photos, but I don't want to judge too harshly until I see them in action, until we get a trailer, basically. And then I also do agree, I really do like Hobby's suit in particular, though, specifically because I think the arm looks really awesome.
Yeah, that arm is pretty badass, actually. We'll see how he gets it. But yeah, I'm enjoying the looks of him so far. This is from Ram Jam. A couple of questions. What do you think of the news for Bob Iger Disney making a sequel for Toy Story 5, Zootopia 2, and Frozen 3? And part 2 of the Into the Spider-Verse will be coming out in 2024, called Beyond the Spider-Verse. Yeah, I believe that's the name of the title. I think that's what Sarah said earlier, for the third installment. Thank you for we'll definitely do our best to keep up the good work. But yeah, what do you guys think of Disney making sequels? So we've got Toy Story 5, Zootopia 2, and Frozen 3. I think for me, my biggest surprise was Toy Story 5. Granted, I didn't see Toy Story 4, but there was a part of me that was just thinking, another one? There's still more story to be told. But again, I didn't see 4 to see if it maybe even lent itself to being developed into a 5th film. But, if Bob Iger certainly wants to make more revenue and bring more money in, I mean, that's definitely the way to go. I think people will always find their butts in seats for a Toy Story 5. But I think this is also going to go back to those that are tired of sequels and reboots and want to see original things. So I'm sure there's probably some fans out there that are like, another one. But I think regardless, it'll bring in money. What do you guys think, though?
Toy Story 5 is maybe one too many. Frozen 3. Frozen's a franchise where there is room for more of that story to be told and what's going on. I didn't see the first Zootopia, so I have no idea what even Zootopia 2 is going to be. But Toy Story, I felt like ended on a good note with Woody and Buzz separating and going their different routes, their different lives. So unless it's something where Buzz has to come help Woody, one or the other, where one has to come save one from another thing or something like that, I could possibly see that happening. But after the whole Buzz Lightyear animated movie fiasco. I think it would be stay away from Toy Story 4, you know what I'm saying, a little bit, and let that die. There's so many other sequels that you could do that can come on. Like what was the one movie where the kid was having all the emotions that were all, you know what I'm saying, inside him? Like I would like
Inside Out.
Yeah, Inside Out. I would like to see Inside Out too. You know what I'm saying? It's movies like that I feel deserve sequels before you go back and you just, you know what I'm saying, you go back to the well again for another time. I mean, Disney sequels don't always do well. You know, the second Aladdin, Return of Jafar, or the second Little Mermaid. So like let us have something that we can come after that we actually connected with, because I mean those are stories that were that I am and my kids in general are looking to see continue, you know, that we actually want to watch.
What about you, Stuart? How do you feeling about a sequel for some of these again? Too many sequels? Tired of them going back to the well, or you think it's a smart idea?
With Toy Story 5, I don't really think we need it. I said that with Toy Story 4 as well, and I even after seeing Toy Story 4, even though I thought Toy Story 4 was like an okay movie, I didn't think it was bad at all, but I still felt the same way after watching, and I'm like, do we really need a Toy Story 4? And I think I'm going to be feeling that same way going into Toy Story 5, because at this point, you know, they've kind of just been going, or there's kind of just been like, they felt very formulaic after Toy Story 3. Because like even Toy Story 3 felt very similar to Toy Story 2, but I didn't mind it at the time because it was there to wrap up the trilogy and, you know, make it one complete story. But Toy Story 4, I feel like if you're going to make a fourth movie after the whole thing was wrapped up, you got to do something new. And they didn't really do anything new with Toy Story 4. It was really just another kind of repeat of Toy Story 2 and 3. And then I kind of feel like we're going to get the same thing with Toy Story 5. It's just going to be another repeat of Toy Story 2, 3, and 4. Zootopia 2 and Frozen 3, however, really looking forward to. I still haven't seen Frozen 2, but I do know that it's a really unique fantasy world. And so there's like a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of things that they could totally do with this world, especially because like I heard they added like a lot of lore within Frozen 2 that could really, you know, that they could really expand on. And then Zootopia 2, you know, the first one was definitely a movie that had a lot to say, and I'm curious to see how they're going to keep that going with the sequel, you know, especially because like, you know, even though the first movie didn't even come out that long ago, it feels like the time period we're living in is very different from the time period of the first Zootopia movie. So I'd be really curious to see how they address like certain social issues and that going into the second Zootopia.
Yeah, I haven't had the chance to even check out a Zootopia film, and like you, Stuart, I didn't get a chance to see Frozen 2, but my girlfriend did actually go down a little rabbit hole of Frozen movies sometime last month. I think she saw the first one, and then she right after that, because they're both on Disney Plus, she wound up watching the second one, and I think she was actually a fan of both films. So I definitely would agree that there is probably more story to tell for Frozen 3 and Zootopia 2. But yeah, for me, Toy Story 5 at this point just feels like you're milking the franchise and hoping that people just get their butts in the seats again. Because after 3, I thought 3 was a perfect, proper ending. Like, I mean, you got the tears out of me personally. You know what I'm saying? Like, just thinking it was the end of a great trilogy. And now we got a fifth one headed our way. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Marcelino. Oh my God. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay. Let's see if we can. Henry Cavill once said in an interview that he doesn't view fan outrage as being toxic. He views it as being passionate because whenever there is an adaptation of something, they want it to be adapted properly and have the right to complain about it if it doesn't meet their expectations. After the interview, this led to a lot of people on the internet using Henry Cavill as their symbol for how fans should be treated by the media. A lot of them say that they aren't toxic, but that they get labeled as toxic by the media, and that there are more scenarios where celebrities play the victims of circumstances that never happen because they hate the fans and don't appreciate them or their art. And when it comes to celebrities like Danielle Pineda, They use her as an example for being a toxic celebrity. In their eyes, she wasn't calling out toxic fans. She was harassing and labeling fans as toxic for complaining about her body type, when in reality, they were unimpressed with her acting skills. They say that she should have given the fans reassurance that she will give it her all when playing the role of Faye Valentine and be more understanding of the criticism. And finally, their biggest argument is that if you attack your fan base and label them toxic, then your product has already failed and you deserved it. So my questions are, do these people on the internet make a valid point since they are being supported by some celebrities? And when do you normally defend fans from toxic celebrities?
I think it's always like circumstantial. I think one thing that I haven't seen this interview, so maybe I'll watch it later and maybe my opinion will completely change. But I think it's kind of safe to say Henry Cavill doesn't really spend that much time on Twitter. So I don't think he really sees like the type of toxic fans that you can go that you can deal with. And then also as for Danielle, so she was Faye in the live action Cowboy Bebop series. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably some fans out there that had genuine critiques about her performance. But let's face it, there are also a lot of really shitty people out there that are going to critique her for her looks and for not having the unrealistic anime body that that obviously her character had in the anime. So I think it's like yes to both sides, I guess. There can be times where a fan is just being passionate and they're not necessarily being toxic, and then they get looked at as being toxic. But also there are some extremely toxic fans out there, and I wouldn't be surprised if Henry Cavill just never really stumbled upon those, because again, he doesn't really seem like the kind of guy that spends a lot of time on Twitter,
Yeah, I definitely get what you that. And it's crazy because the people that were knocking, you know what I'm saying, Danielle for how she looked as Faye didn't care about the way Mustafa looked as Jet Black, or anything like that, because he looked nothing like what Jet Black looked like in the anime.
I was going to say, yeah, his muscles aren't bigger than his face.
Yeah. So there was no unrealistic comparison there. They weren't running him down for that. The criticism that she got, to me, wasn't valid, whether it was the the acting or not. It's an anime being portrayed into live action. There's people who hand draw facial expressions and stuff like that are unrealistic to how humans really go. They're just the voice actors don't get enough credit for inflections and being able to tie their voice to the emotional experiences that the characters are having, in the anime. You're not going to get that in real life. So I do feel like where she didn't address the fans properly, I see what she's feeling, especially if you have a woman who's possibly been attacked for the way she looks, her entire life. So it's not right for something like that happen, because just as many fans that were criticizing the way she portrayed the character, there was just as many fans portraying her for how she looked as the character, knocking her for how she looked as the character, when nobody in that show looked like the character they were playing, period. Not even a dog. So it's like, what are you supposed to do? Henry Cavill is a different animal when it comes to those two different things, because Henry Cavill is somebody who steps away from things if he feels like it's not living up to fan expectation, because he's a fan of what he's doing. Similar to what he walked away from The Witcher. The story's not going to where, the written literature of the game is going. I'm not a fan of this. I can't give this my all because, it's not becoming what I want it to become or what I envision it to become with me being a fan of this content. Which is totally understandable. But with me, I stick around and be like, hey, let me make this character as good as I know it can be, type of stuff. So I wasn't with him walking away from The Witcher. I'm also support him in not being cast back, as Superman as he should be, because he never got a fair shake to really take that character where it was supposed to be. So I can see both sides of everything going on, but the criticism that Danielle got for what she did, I'm 110% against that.
I guess my response to this would be, I don't consider fan outrage the same as being toxic. You know, like I think people have the right to complain about a show that they don't like as long as it's like creative criticism, you know, if it's valid. I mean, if you've got actual valid points as to why you don't like something, I do think you can be outspoken as a fan and be passionate because something doesn't necessarily live up to your expectations. So I don't view that fan outrage or that fan passion as he does sort of the same as being toxic. Like I can almost guarantee you if you bring up the Danielle Pineda situation to Henry Cavill during that interview. Again, I haven't checked out the interview. Maybe I'll have to check it out. I would think that if you were to bring up that situation to Henry, I think Henry could probably really explain to you that there definitely are two significant differences when it comes to that. So, you know, you also say in your comments, you know, that she was harassing and labeling fans for complaining about her body type when in reality they were unimpressed in her acting skills. I mean, is that you summarizing why you think that they attacked her? Do you think that's what their true intentions were because they were unimpressed with her acting skills? Because you may feel that, yes, some people might have been unimpressed with her acting skills, but was that everybody's point of view? Right? I'm sure she definitely got attacked by people that definitely made her physical appearance more of an issue. And for me, honestly, the idea of a physical appearance of somebody shouldn't matter at the end of the day in regards to what that character is doing and the purpose of that character being a part of the storyline and that character's story arc. And so I don't necessarily think you can summarize it as, oh, everybody was just unimpressed with her acting skills. No, there were definitely some people out there that definitely made a much bigger deal about her body type, and that's who she's certainly addressing. If some fans, you know, it's one of those things like if she or they are not talking about you, you'll know about it, right? Like if you're not a toxic fan and she's addressing those fans and you know that it's not you, then I don't see the big deal about it. But I think she's addressing the people that specifically had something to say about what her character looked like and her physical attributes over the idea of what the storyline was or certainly the performance. So I do think that they're two completely different things. So I think when Henry Cavill talks about fan outrage, I think he's really talking about the idea of fans that are passionate, that, you know, are very vocal, that have creative criticisms about it. Toxic at the end of the day is just bullying somebody, putting somebody down. You know, that's how I view toxic fans to just fans that are passionate and have real criticisms about a show. So I view those as two completely different things, though.
I'm sure he would support fans who express disappointment that he's not coming back as Superman, but I'm sure he would not support fans that are sending James Gunn death threats over that, you know?
Yeah, or probably people that are harassing Liam, you know, before Liam Hemsworth, before he even gets into the role. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some toxic fans out there that are like, oh, you don't even look like the character. Oh, you son of a bitch. I can't even believe you take it. Like, I'm sure there's some people that are just so toxic out there that are arguing before they've even gotten the opportunity to see this man, right? And so that's a toxic fan compared to if the show actually drops and we see Liam and, you know, we get a whole season of him, then people wind up being critical of the show and have good reasons for being critical. There's definitely a difference. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I just don't view them as the same thing. Carter Matthews, what do you guys think of people who do podcasts? Oh, I think we're great. And do you have any favorites that you listen to when you have time? What are some of your pros and cons of doing podcasts, if you have any? That's a good question, Carter. I know you got a second one, but I really like this question. Yeah, I don't think we have a problem with people who do podcasts. We literally just co-hosted some podcasts ourselves here, as we had Scene and Nerd earlier today. So they're definitely one that I like to listen to. I also listen to John Campea, who's a big movie guy. I also listen to Christian Harloff. He's another big movie guy, big Star Wars nerd. Also does some great reaction and review videos also. But those are probably the two biggest ones that or the three biggest ones that I listen to as of right now. What about you guys?
Oh man. So I feel like I'm always like kind of switching when it comes to podcasts. Like I'll have one specific show that I'll listen to for a month straight. And it's like, I love listening to podcasts specifically when I'm on the bus on my way to work, because I got 50 minutes to kill. So it's perfect. But like some of the ones that I constantly am going back to though are like Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, and then Double Toasted. I absolutely love those guys. I've been like listening to them since they were going by spill.com. And then I also am really loving this new kind of trend. We actually talked about it earlier on the show, where you get like a lot of people that were in big TV shows essentially doing a podcast where they go and they rewatch the show, and then they talk about each episode, like, and what it was like working on it. So like they have it with Smallville, they have it with Scrubs, they have it with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So I've been getting really into like listening to those, especially when it's like an episode that I remember really well, and I'm like, ooh, I got to hear the behind the scenes details on this.
What do you like to listen to, Indy? Podcast?
Yeah, a plethora. So I honestly just was checking out a couple of ups of like the stuff that Scene and Nerd do, and that's definitely something I can see myself listening to while working. You know what I'm saying? Like catching up and going stuff. But my biggest ones that weekly I have to listen to them. Top 3, Going In Raw with Steven Larson. Because
you still listen to them? I haven't listened to them in years, man.
Yeah,
they're so good.
I still listen to them. Datilia, I listen to her podcast. That take care of like all my wrestling. So if I ever miss anything, I listen to one of those two to make sure that I'm caught up on what's happening with the wrestling news. Fat Man Beyond with Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin. Man, no, you think we fan out over stuff, man? Listening to those two and just and listening to Mark Bernardin just nullify anything that Kevin says he loves. And just tell them, no, that was bad. That wasn't good. It's just interesting to me. And the Joe Budden podcast.
He's still going, huh?
Yeah, I think they're like episode 600 now. Still going strong. Thing like he's like the number 3 podcast. You know what I'm saying, on like the DSPs for audio. So definitely listen to those 3. As far as people who do podcasts, bro, I do podcasts, like a lot of them, like a lot of them. And I feel that it's needed. Podcast to me is the new promotion. There's a lot of stuff that I don't find out that's happening or doing without a lot of these podcasters talking about it. These are new insiders. We used to search the internet and stuff. Right now, I feel like all our information is there at a click of a button for us just to hear it. So, like, if you're a lazy person that wants to know everything, find a couple of good podcasts and just listen to them. You won't even have to search the internet. They do everything for you.
Just so you guys know, we also do have a podcast, our A+ Hero Report podcast on Spotify. There is a link in the description box below, guys. Listen to us, follow us over there also. But yeah, podcast people are pretty cool. He also says, what do you guys think of the rumors of the possibility that Brie Larson's character in Fast X could be the long lost sister of Brian, played by Paul Walker? You guys believe the rumor?
For me, it would make sense because that would give her motive to want to kill Dom. Like, you got my brother killed, you know what I'm saying, type thing. Yeah, but then I feel like it comes to get mixed feelings when it comes to like that his son is a Toretto. You know what I'm saying? So like her nephew's a Toretto. So I wonder how they will write that out, because am I going to kill everybody and just take my nephew and raise him how I want him to raise? You're going to kill you're going to kill your brother's wife. You know what I'm saying? Baby mama. And I want to see where they go with this. If that's the case, that's some weird writing, you know, but nah, I don't know if I like that. I kind of want Brie Larson's character to be her own character. Maybe, what was the last villain's name? The last female villain. Why can't it be?
Yeah, Charlize Theron's
character. Well, I think it would be more interesting for her to be in relation to Charlize Theron's character. You know what I'm saying? Her coming to get her sister out, since, you know what I'm saying, she's locked up or whatever. Cypher. That was her name in the movie, Cypher.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking would make a lot more sense, because, I'm going to correct you on one thing. Brian did not get killed off in the movie. So he got a send off, but like it was basically him driving into the sunset. So he's still technically alive. They just don't use him anymore for obvious reasons. But yeah, I agree with you. I think like her having a relationship or being related to Cypher in some way would actually be a much better storyline than if she was just some like long lost sister of Brian that just never got brought up. I think like it was really weird when they did that with John Cena's character in the previous movie, so it'd be really weird to do that again, in this movie.
Well, the John Cena storyline kind of like made sense. The way that they were smart enough to write it in to make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? In the movie, especially since that was the first time we went back to that specific event actually happening and what was going on. Why would anybody mention a brother that Dom just kind of like, you know what I'm saying? You're not my family anymore. Go. The next time I see you, I'm gonna kill you. You know what I'm saying? Why even bring him up? You know what I'm saying, in conversation when knowing that how Dom feels about family. So him coming back. Now, the whole thing with, I saw a post and this made me laugh hilariously. Dom is Goku. Basically. like go with this. I rock with this post because he fights every villain and then makes them his friend, right?
Yeah.
And he's all about family. The only difference is that, you know what I'm saying, Dom's character takes care of his son, you know what I'm saying, Goku.
Yeah, but he stays around. Yeah, he stays around.
Well, as far as we know in this new movie, his son could be getting in a lot of trouble, you know what I'm saying, and being kidnapped and stuff like that. So we might get the Gohan comparison, you know what I'm saying, after this. So that's the type of stuff that why I feel like a lot of people get drawn to Fast and the Furious, just from that comparison of it feels like a live action anime to me. You know what I'm saying? So hey, I'm looking forward to this movie. I don't care what nobody says. Best franchise ever.
Okay. Next up, we got John Schuyler. Do you think that in Once and Always, the team will reference that they already had their power coins restored on Grid Connection? I just think it would feel out of place if they suddenly acted like they never had their power coins since losing them at the end of MMPR Season 3. We know that Kat herself will be using the pterodactyl coin. So I hope they reference that they were already Rangers since Grid Connection. I also think that by referencing they already had their powers back for a while, they could clarify if MMPR Yellow was Aisha or Trini. And as for how they got their powers restored, they can easily say Morphin Masters restored them. Like you said last week, they don't have to tell us everything from Legendary Battle and Grid Connection, just the things that were never answered, like their powers being restored and what they've been up to, like Kat and Rocky before Dimensions in Danger. And I think that's probably, for me, I think that's probably why we got Billy here. I think Billy can give us like one paragraph explanation as to what's going on in his most nerdy scientific way possible of how he got the power coins to work, where they've been, sort of thing. So I do think that we'll get ourselves a moment where they kind of catch us up in regards to those things. I know Power Rangers isn't really known for explaining anything, but if there's anybody that can explain anything, it's Billy. So I think Billy will get his time to shine here. What do you think, Indy? Do you think we'll get somebody to explain what's been going on since we last seen him?
I mean, I think in the last crossover special, the one that had Austin, maybe it's the one Jason with the Master Morpher. I think they started to explain a little bit, you know what I'm saying, of what was going on in that, because he's not supposed to have some of them powers. He's not supposed to be able to tap back into, especially like the Green Ranger power. So I feel like they already been laying the groundwork for that. And maybe what they have is a version of a Master Morpher, but just with their, you know what I'm saying, abilities in it. I don't know. I feel like the best thing, Billy is the thing that overwrites everything, right? Because just think about it. If he stayed on and he stayed a Ranger, right, and never went anywhere, majority of the problems that they have never happened because he solves them all, right? Because he was that brilliant. So that is their thing, to where none of this makes sense. Billy has the answer. Whatever Billy says goes. So I feel like that can easily fix any situation they have. But them already having their powers, maybe being there for the establishment of SPD, you know what I'm saying, different stuff like that. It just makes for a fuller world, a fuller verse, and it would just make so much more sense. and would probably make me start watching Power Rangers again. Because if I watch this anniversary special and it doesn't make any sense at all, I'm never watching this stuff again. I'm gonna be honest.
Hey Stuart, with this clocking in at supposedly 55 minutes, do you think they'll find time to do any explaining to us? What do you think?
I think so. I think like what you said, how Billy might be the one to explain it all. I think that'd be the really good way to do it. And
Him or Alpha?
yeah, exactly. And then I think what they're gonna do is just go to Master Morpher, or that's what it was called, right? The Master Morpher.
Master Morpher?
Yeah, I think that'll be the route they go for the most part. It'll be like kind of simple, straight to the point, but because Billy's going to be the one explaining it, it's going to sound more complicated than it is.
And instantly believable.
Yeah, exactly. I just hope though that they don't do the same. Like, okay, I got to be careful because I know you haven't finished Dino Fury, but I hope they don't go with the same like kind of explanation as they did in Dino Fury for that, because it was funny in Dino Fury, but I hope that doesn't become like the crutch that the future Power Rangers content uses. We're basically I won't spoil it just in case.
Let's see here. We got Adam Perea. Saban gave us Super Sentai is what he says. He says, we all know that Saban was a greedy person when it came to paying the original MMPR cast unfairly, and how he pretty much made Neo Saban era a cash grab by not putting a lot of effort and restricting the writers from being more free. That said, this man gave us Power Rangers and even Super Sentai. Why Super Sentai? Because if we didn't spend years trying to get Power Rangers greenlit during the 80s and early 90s, we wouldn't have gotten MMPR, which is based off of Super Sentai. Back then, the internet was hardly a thing, where it was very difficult to pretty much find anything easily. If Saban never had found out about Sentai, Power Rangers wouldn't have existed, and we wouldn't even know about Sentai until much, much later on, like in today's society. Can you imagine people finding out about Super Sentai from apps like Instagram, YouTube, or even TikTok? It would have been such a weird thing if Saban hadn't made Power Rangers become a reality, if he hadn't traveled to Japan during a business trip. So yeah, while we all hate Saban for how he treated Power Rangers for the last 10 years, we should at least always be grateful that he gave us Power Rangers. Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with you in regards to being grateful for him giving us Power Rangers. And listen, before Power Rangers, I didn't even know that there was anything called Super Sentai out there. I think it took me a while to even understand the fact that what I was watching on TV wasn't all made in America. I don't necessarily know if it instantly clicked with me that these aren't the same people in this costumes, that that they literally ripped footage from another show. I literally had no idea about it. So while he certainly didn't create Super Sentai, I definitely would be grateful for Saban for at least introducing the States to something like Super Sentai and just the concept of tokusatsu in general. I think it definitely changed the lives and the minds of a lot of kids around the world during that time period. So yeah, I definitely understand you, Adam. What do you guys think, though?
I mean, I fully agree with both you and the other Adam. Obviously, it's easy to make fun of how Saban didn't know what he was doing when he took over for Power Rangers again when they brought it back. But there's no denying the huge impact that he had back when he first introduced us to Power Rangers.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. What you got?
I don't know. I grew up on Voltron, He-Man, you know what I'm saying, different stuff like that. I was in the Ronin Warriors. So Power Rangers to me was that, but long at live action. So I was going to be into it regardless. And I probably would have got into Sentai, you know what I'm saying, through the content that I was already watching. But hey, I still give that credit to you, Mr. Adam Perez.
You're welcome, sir. Let's see here. Next question from Nicole. What's up, Nicole? Since the first official trailer of the upcoming Barbie movie starring Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling came out, what were some of your favorite films by them? And if you could, what other film franchises would you like to see them be a part of in the future? Margot Robbie was great in Wolves of Wall Street. That was a great movie that she was in. She also had another part in that. What was that Quentin Tarantino movie that she was just in? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Is
Yeah.
that what? Yeah, she was in there briefly. Trying to think of some other Margot Robbie movies. Ryan Gosling. God, I feel like I actually really enjoyed him in La La Land recently. I thought he was pretty good in Drive. I thought was that the movie he was in, Drive?
Oh yeah.
That was his movie, right?
Yep.
What other movies was he in recently? He was just in a big Netflix one recently too. The Gray Man. Did you see him in The Gray Man?
Gray Man was excellent.
Not yet. I do need to watch that.
The Gray Man was excellent.
He was in one of your other favorite movies, Stuart, Blade Runner 2049, right?
Yeah, that was going to be my pick for him. I love Blade Runner 2049, and I think he was awesome in that.
I might give y'all a couple of different movies. Even a couple of TV shows like Young Hercules.
What? Ryan Gosling was in Young Hercules?
Yeah, he was in Young Hercules, 50 episodes, 98 through 99. Remember the Titans.
Yeah, I remember that.
I forgot that was him in Remember the Titans.
Yeah. The Notebook, which if we don't say The Notebook, you're gonna have every woman on here like ripping us a new one because we didn't say The Notebook. And probably my favorite movie that I saw him in, 2011, Crazy Stupid Love.
Oh yeah, that was a good movie. Shout out also to Margot Robbie and I, Tonya. I actually really enjoyed her in that movie too, I, Tonya.
I haven't saw a movie that I liked Margot Robbie in, to be honest with you. But that's
really, you didn't like Wolf of Wall Street?
No, that's probably the opposite side of me because everybody was like fan diving onto Margot Robbie. I'm like, I'm gonna go over here and enjoy somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Type thing.
They have her listed in this movie called About Time. I absolutely love that movie About Time with Rachel McAdams and Domhnall Gleeson. I don't, goodness, it says even Vanessa Kirby was in this movie. I don't remember any of those people being in this movie. I might have to go back and rewatch it, but that was a great movie of mine. I loved about time travel, but it's called About Time. So check it out if you guys haven't had the opportunity to.
I think for Margot Robbie, I think my favorite would definitely be the Suicide Squad when she played Harley Quinn. I think that was when they finally like really nailed her character within the DC universe.
I thought somebody had a question about Harley Quinn in one of these questions. I can't remember what it was. Somebody was asking me, was it Marcelino? I can't remember. Somebody else posted a question asking me about, I'm trying to see if it's here. That
y'all can like Margot Robbie, you know what I'm saying? That just leaves Aubrey Plaza to myself.
She's a great actress, man. I saw her in Emily the Criminal, and I was super impressed, man.
Yeah,
super impressed. Let's see here. Carlo Bernardo, he says, this is just my headcanon. We know that in Beast Morphers, the episode Evox Snare, we had a fun fan service scene when where Ben and Betty went into the Ranger Vault to find the split emitters that were used in Dino Supercharge in order to separate Evox and Mayor Daniels. The biggest question with the Ranger Vault was how exactly did Grid Battle Force obtain all those Ranger gear, even though some of them were from RPM and SPD, which both series weren't in the main Power Rangers timeline. My headcanon is that when SPD Rangers left Reeves side in 2004 during the crossover wormhole, at some point in time, Tommy still remembered the events and contacted Wes and told him about SPD. Then Wes called his team in the year 3000 to keep a record of the SPD Rangers. He says, as for the RPM weapons, we can assume that Mike from Samurai told Tommy after Legendary Battle about the time his team fought with Scott in Clash of the Red Rangers. You can say that Scott himself told Dr. K about the existence of other Rangers in the main dimension the moment he got back to his. And that's how Gemma later met Wes and the other Rangers in Dimensions in Danger. Later, she told Dr. K that was how she was able to get a hold of the Grid Battle Force. This could apply to how RPM Rangers were in the legendary battle. Of course, we could also accept that the Green Morphing Master knew that SPD and RPM, thanks to the legendary battle through the morphing grid. He says, I also think that considering once a Ranger when Sentinel Knight recruited an early version of Bridge before the events of SPD and forgot to erase his memories and everybody else's after the crossover. Andrew Hartford relayed the information of SPD into the Rangers database, and at some point, Grid Battle Force found the existence of SPD. As for all the other Rangers gear with other teams, since most of them were from Rangers in the main timeline dimension, we can assume Tommy or even Billy found out about Grid Battle Force through the Rangers database, since we all know Tommy knew about past Ranger teams in the episode Legacy of Power. Same with how Jason already knew of Grid Battle Force and Grid Connection. What do you think of my headcanon? Is it too confusing or it makes sense? You lost me after the first paragraph, bro. No, I'm just kidding. I will say, Carlo, I am impressed about your level of timeline knowledge. The fact that you're putting all these pieces together kind of blows me away. I'm glad somebody pays attention to that, because I had no idea. I dig the headcanon that you have. It seems extremely well thought out. But I dig it. That seems plausible enough to me, Carlos. So I'm just going to trust you. What do you think, Stuart?
Makes me question myself as a writer, because I also do my own headcanon stuff, and usually I just go with the simplest explanation of how things can be connected. I never would have gone with something as elaborate as this, because for me, my thought was, oh, okay, this is just early SPD designs. That was it. That was why I thought SPD weapons were in the Time Vault. I'm like, okay, SPD is currently still being developed at the moment. This is some early prototypes of their weapons. That's it.
Oh, that was your head. Okay. Yeah, Carlo definitely has a very well thought out.
Creative,
yeah, so much more thought out and creative for sure. So I'll definitely give that to you, Carlo, for sure. So thank you for your thoughts on that. Dino Knights, he says, this is just my speculation, but back in December, Jared Turner posted a picture of him doing ADR for 5 hours straight, which the photo itself hasn't been deleted since. Do you think Tarek could become a new Ranger for Cosmic Fury? Maybe he'll use a suit from Q Ranger in all brand new footage, or a brand new suit, just like what we're getting for the main 6. What do you think? Back in December of this year, he posted a picture of him doing ADR work for 5 hours. That is interesting. I guess the question that I would have for Mr. Turner is that just an old footage that you just posted recently to showcase your past work that you were doing for Dino Fury, or is he really coming back for Cosmic Fury? What do you think, Stuart? Do you think Tarek could become a new Ranger for Cosmic Fury?
I don't know about a new Ranger specifically, but I could see him being a supporting cast member. And how we were kind of talking last time about what the new rankings might be now that they're on a ship, how Zato might be captain and then Amelia might be the commander. We could say that maybe Tarek might end up being the admiral of the team. So I could see them going that route.
What do you think, Indy? Do you think he's posting something from current work that he has done, or you think this ADR work for 5 hours is something that he was doing for Dino Fury and just is now getting around to posting it?
I think it was from Dino Fury, to be totally honest with you. I don't think he's posting stuff that he's just done. So if he does, I don't think they would allow him to post stuff that he just done. So I think this is just old stuff that is coming out.
That makes sense too.
Yeah, he says the photo itself hasn't been deleted, so they're keeping it up there. I am kind of curious as to what the caption of it was, if he clarifies at all. I mean, heck, maybe it wasn't even for Dino Fury or Cosmic Fury. Maybe it's ADR work for another project that he's got. You know what I mean? I have no idea, but the timing seems interesting. I'll definitely say that, Dino Knights, for sure. John Schuyler Possibility the Rangers already had their powers for the last few years. He says, do you think in Once and Always the team will acknowledge that they already had their powers restored for a while? It would seem out of place if it suddenly act like they never got their powers back since the end of MMPR, aside from Zach. Instead, we would only find out how we would only find out how exactly they got their power coins back, like from the Morphing Masters. With the team already having their power coins restored, we could finally get the clarification if the Yellow Ranger we've seen in Legendary Battle and Grid Connection was either Trini or Aisha. Since we already seen the MMPR team return in both occasions in their suits, ready to know from behind the scenes trailer the anniversary special, Cat has the original pterodactyl coin for the first time. Like you said a few days ago when you answered my wait, did I already do a John Scarlett? John?
I was going to say this question sounds very familiar.
Yeah, he already posted that. My bad, guys. My bad, guys. Adrian Perez, how amazing is that we will be getting a new Robo Rita in the MMPR reunion special? The name Robo makes me wonder if this new recreated version of Rita Repulsa is similar to the characters of Blaze and Roxy from Power Rangers Beast Morphers. Interesting. When during the second season, the real Blaze and Roxy were scanned and made into robot duplicates, so I think Robo Rita could look like the original Rita who was played on screen by Carla Perez. If not, perhaps Robo Rita really does look like a robot. As for now, we don't know if Carla Perez herself will return on screen, only voiced by Barbara Goodson. I'm looking forward to seeing how everything is put together once the reunion special is finally here. You know, I expect her to look like a robot. But didn't they say that? I thought they were bringing back the voice actor. Was I wrong?
I heard that too.
But I don't think they said it was Carla Perez, right?
Not that I know of.
So I'm not expecting her to return. I think it would be pretty cool if they did and just did like some prosthetics and some makeup on her or something. I think that'd be pretty cool. But I'm kind of under the impression that this character is going to look like a robot Rita to me. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think if anything, she might look more like cybernetic than like a full-on robot. But I think to a degree, there's going to be something that shows that she was built using science, and because Rita's all about magic, I feel like you're going to have a version of robot or version of Rita that's going to like hate everything about herself, and that's going to make her like more dangerous.
He took the words right out of my mouth. Exactly what I was going to say. Stuart just said. It's gonna be a conflicting personality, you know what I'm saying, like thing because of how it looks. But I'm thinking like similar to just like the robots, like out of Beast Morphers, but had like the little, you know what I'm saying, horns coming out, you know what I'm saying, thing like very very Rita-esque but robot.
Yeah,
definitely. And I'll probably end on this question. If anything, anybody else that we didn't get to, I'll go ahead and do a live viewer question additional video for you guys later on in the week. If anything, there was one that was sent to my email from Michael Veller. He says, hey, I attached my questions to this email. They won't appear on the community tab. I tried to send it about 3 times, but they won't appear. So outside of this, if anything, for you guys, if anything, Alexander Rosario, I will be beginning with you, and we'll finish off at Power Rangers Legacy in our separate video. But the last question is from Michael. If Jason, Zach, and Trini never went to the Peace Conference due to the actors walking off set due to the behind the scenes, how do you think the show would have been like during the transition to Zeo? Probably even better, if you ask me. And the only reason why I say that is just because it allows us to have these characters to sit around with a little bit longer. I think there's always been a part of me that has asked that big what if question. Would Power Rangers still have been as good had they stuck around? I personally were to think so, but that would have just been 3 additional characters for me to be emotionally connected to, and I think probably on a much bigger scale, considering that they were the originals. So I think seeing that transition from MMPR to Zeal with the original cast, while already impactful, I think it probably would have been even more impactful. But what do you guys think?
Think about this. Think about Jason being Zeo Red, and then it's Tommy who comes back to be the Gold Ranger. And so, you know what I'm saying, and some type of thing like that would be very, very interesting in how that could go. I'd be all with it, but now like I don't want it. Like I wouldn't want it because of the comics and all the lore that's tied into it. And you know what I'm saying, what's went on when we find out in the comics where Zach, Trini, and Jason really went. You know what I'm saying? And it I feel like we'd be missing out on all this content that we're getting now if the story wouldn't have played out like it did.
True.
Oh, I totally get you there. I wish they would just announce if this stuff is canon or not. What do you think, Stuart?
I think the one thing that actually would have worked really well with that is then you could have gotten a cast of characters that we could have seen actually kind of grow older. Because yeah, it seemed like right when the original cast graduated, that was when they were like, okay, now we're gonna get this. Even though they were the same age, they were in universe, the younger cast that were still in high school. So we went back to the high school aspect about Power Rangers. I think it would have been kind of cool to see them continue to grow after graduation, then possibly during the events of Power Rangers in space, have like storylines where it's them trying to figure out what to do with their lives while also trying to save the universe. One of the things I loved about like Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 4,
Yo, think about the Power Ranger movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, how much different that would have been, right?
Yeah. It's crazy about how much that actually changed just in universe or everything that happens. Just think about Zach going, I'm a frog. You know what I'm saying? Instead of Adam.
I don't know if we would have gotten that line because that line was completely improvised.
Oh man, yeah. See, it would have been something completely different then. And then just the last question, he says, since the passing of JDF, do you feel the 25th anniversary episode, Dimensions in Danger, has now been considered a huge fan favorite due to it being Jason's final role as Tommy, despite it not being the best and perfect anniversary special? No, I don't think it's going to change anything for me. Rest in peace, JDF. But no, I don't. It's not gonna change my opinion of it just because this is his last crossover. If anything, I will say it does make me appreciate his role in it more. It makes me appreciate, especially the extended version of the fight sequences and seeing him go through, all the different versions of his Power Rangers that he's been before. So that has definitely heightened my appreciation for those scenes. But as a 25th anniversary, does it automatically make it better because of his passing? No, not at all. I still have my feelings about it though. But what do you guys think?
I'm gonna be honest with you. No, it doesn't make me think that. I thought that was done horribly. I feel like these specials should be longer. Mm-hmm. Like we should get 1:30, especially when you have commercials and everything. You know what I'm saying? Added in, the episode itself should be 55 minutes long, and then 30 minutes of commercials or whatever. And how
that's what they're giving us for the Netflix special.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm happy about. What it does do, it makes me appreciate Dino Thunder more. Mm-hmm. And because you go back and you watch that, and to me that was the epitome of him, you know what I'm saying, as a Ranger coming back saying I still make this look good, and everything like that, and becoming the mentor, not the leader, but the mentor of what was going on. I appreciated that. I also appreciated more the stuff done with Bat in the Sun, not necessarily the movie that he did, but the actual Green Ranger, White Ranger content that he did with Bat in the Sun, because that's just, it's how we always wanted that grittiness and everything to look, in the Power Ranger world, and just his overall fandom. The love his daughters have, for the fandom, the way he went out the way for the fans, like he would do stuff for free. you know, just to make sure that the fans got what they wanted, because we don't get that from every Ranger. No matter how much you want it, he really cared about his legacy as a Ranger, and hopefully going forward, we get more, you know what I'm saying, actors who play these roles take, you know what I'm saying, that the route he did with that.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I certainly hope so. What about you, Stuart? How do you feel about that? Does it make Dimensions in Danger better for you, or no?
For me personally, it doesn't make it better or worse. I still think Dimensions in Danger is just, okay. But that being said, I could see it suddenly getting a whole new viewership, especially after Once and Always, because I feel like that's when people are going to learn, oh, wait, JDF has still been in this franchise. Because I feel like that's something that not a lot of people know, is a lot of people just kind of like assume that like every season is like a completely separate continuity and that like none of the Rangers have ever returned since the original. I think like a lot of people are going into this thinking this is their first time back since the 90s. So I think that after this premieres on Netflix, and then, if they do some like references to previous anniversary or previous crossover events, I think that's when Dimensions in Danger might get a little bit more of a audience, or a little bit more recognition.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I do think it will get more recognition now. Marcelino says, I still like Dimensions Danger more than Grid Connection. Yeah, and I'm sure you're probably not alone. I'm sure there probably are some fans that were fans of Dimensions in Danger there in their own way. But I think other than that, guys, I think that will wrap it up for today's show. So thank you very much, everybody, for participating. Thanks again to Scene and Nerd for Will and Sarah certainly joining us. It was fantastic to be able to talk with them and to really just have a huge panel like we did, man. I had a lot of fun just kind of going back and forth and just, get an opportunity to talk some nerdy stuff, man. Always love those times. But let's see here. Other than that, I think that's going to do it for us. We got the Super Bowl later on today, guys. Enjoy the football games. Enjoy the commercials, the huge amounts of movie trailers that we're certainly going to get. And definitely watch us over on our Facebook page. If anything, we'll be posting a lot of the trailers up there. And maybe sometime tomorrow, maybe we even get to put together a quick trailer breakdown of all the trailers that we wind up getting from the Super Bowl. Maybe do a quick video if any of you guys are available to record tomorrow, but we'll definitely see. But a lot certainly going on. Datilus has Elimination Chamber next week. Yes, we need to do predictions this week. So sometime maybe Thursday if you're available, early Friday if we can. I can't remember what day we did predictions for Royal Rumble on Datilus, so definitely remind me. But if anything, we'll try and do predictions again. So a lot going on this week, guys. Enjoy your week. We'll be back next Sunday for you guys, hopefully at 12 p.m. Central Time. But if anything changes, we'll definitely keep you guys posted. Indy, if people want to follow you on social media, where can they find you, sir?
First off, at Anime Assembled on Instagram. Y'all can check me out at A+ Hero Report right here. Like and subscribe. Anywhere else at Nerd Mix Alpha, please search Indy Uchiha, Spotify, Apple Music, all that. New single, I'm Back. Let's run the numbers up.
Yeah, that was a great song, man. If you haven't checked out some of Indy's musical work, his bars, please go ahead and do so. He dropped a new one, I'm Back, which was a complete fire, man. So I'm glad to see you back in your music bag, sir.
Is it on YouTube Music?
YouTube Music. The video is also on YouTube Music as well. So
awesome.
Yeah.
And Stuart, where can people find you on social media? And you got any new music you doing too?
Nope, I am not musically talented at all. But you guys can find me at TurboStew01 over on Twitter and on Instagram.
Awesome, guys. And if you want to follow us, as always, right up here or right below here at A+ Opinions, you can follow us anytime. Very active over on our Facebook page, which is our main page. Check us out also over on Twitter as well as Instagram. If you haven't joined our Discord, which is over here, please go ahead and do so. There is a link in the description box below. We're also on Spotify for you audio listeners and for some of you visuals now, as they do full video episodes up there as well. We usually post those videos the day or so after our episodes drop here on YouTube. So if you want to find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, I mean, we're pretty much anywhere, guys. So definitely look out for us there. But other than that, that's going to do it for us here. So we'll see you guys next week. In the meantime, do us a big favor. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.